All right, there we go. I had a whole monologue going. Holy crap! Well, welcome everyone. We are covering the live stream here coming up for Blake's going to tell us all what the 2-year plan is or something about this whole debacle of the last couple Manic Mondays. WOTC making a new thing. Depressing news on Monday. Yay. Well, cheers, y'all. Let me know how you guys feel in the chat. I have the subscriber turned on, so I don't have to keep saying subscribe and stuff. I know you got to do the YouTube stuff, but I know it turns people off. But yeah, feel free to subscribe. We do a lot of random giveaways. Every Thursday, we talk Magic on an MTG Roundtable at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Sundays, super late, 10:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for some Commander action. Those are the set days, but we do a lot of random streams in between, box breaks, the whole nine. So you found a new fams if you landed here. Hell yeah. All right. Still got about 8 more minutes before they start. How's everyone feeling, man? We have big news dropped on us Monday last week, Monday this week. WOTC's now in charge. WOTC is the captain now. Oh, yeah. All right, K-Torque. You can hear me now, though, right? Gotta love them audio issues. Yeah. Fireside chat number 2. Oh, baby. All right, good. I was like talking for like a minute, and then they're like, no audio. I was like, oh, rev. They're like, who's this dude? What's up? What's going on? I think it was, I think it was in the middle of like, oh yeah, subscribe and like, and all that YouTube stuff. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yay. All right, we're almost there, baby. We got about 7 more minutes for the Blake show to start. Can't wait. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking in the chat about the whole banning sitch, about WOTC taking over. Let's talk a little bit before the show starts. So, I should be joined here by TCGDude here very soon. But my inner circle, if you want to join, let me know. We'll be kind of quiet and kind of memeing off and on throughout the whole presentation. Maybe get into it deep after the show. Do you guys prefer the square, or are you liking the circle? I don't know. Makes this small. Let me play with this a little bit more here. Yeah, because it makes my Things small. No, that's even smaller. That's yeah, weird. Okay. Just messing around with this option here. My take. Why does anyone care? WotC has control of the bans for non-commander formats. How is it any different? Yeah, good point. Good point. I'm not gonna sing all hell high praise for the way that they run their other tournaments, but they've been doing it for a while. So, and honestly, they kind of had say in any of the bannings or any of the other things anyway. So, what is the difference, right? So, wholeheartedly agree there. But our boy Anger earlier from Anger Collections was saying, "Oh, dude, but now that they're in control, they could make their events. I mean, they've been talking about more competitive events for Commander and whatnot with this new 4-tier system. They can definitely break it off. Like, this is the I don't know, pre-con section for, tier 1, tier 2 probably has some better cards. Tier 3 is probably up there, and then of course if you're throwing in those big expensive cards, tier 4 is kind of the explanation. But they could potentially have some tournaments coming up. So, maybe it's not a horrible thing. I'm in between cuz like, what can do? I'm still going to make decks. I'm not leaving Magic. Do I agree with the bans? Not so much.
Now you can
Here
save
we
on
go.
Cox Internet when
Cox
you add
commercial.
Cox Mobile,
Obey it.
which means fiber-powered internet at
All right,
home
let me get over
and
there.
unbeatable 5G
I don't need them.
reliability on the go. Do more
Brett.
without spending more.
Okay. Yeah, I don't need to be copyrighted by Cox Internet. That would be Brett. All right, starting soon. So normally I go full screen on this, but I think we're gonna just have it open to see the. Oh, what happened? Someone passed away? Oh, bro. Anyways, I kind of want to see the chat responses to what Blake's got to say. So I probably won't be as full screen. Let's see. We'll do that. Can you guys read the chat on the side there or no? Let me know in chat if you can actually see that. I can blow this up, which will make it full screen, but then we don't see chat. Oh no, okay, that works, right? All right, bet. All right, Caustic, sounds good. Yeah, can read. Okay, this is the full screen, so this works. We might pop in off and on. But yeah, what are they saying? Commander's banned. Ban horseshoe crab. What? Yeah, this ought to be very interesting. No music, huh? How would the stream be any different from yesterday's announcement? Yeah. Oh yeah, they're working people up for the death threats, which are uncalled for. Someone says don't unban Dockside. Yeah. Come on, brother. Where you at? Bruh. Bruh. All right, here we go. Getting into it. We got 2 more minutes before the start, and the chat is going off. This comment section will be very polite. Probably they're whoever their mods are gonna be busy. I know it. That's right. Aldazar, they're saying ban Soul Ring. Yeah, if they're gonna ban all the fast mana, just do it. I mean, they already like tore the bandage off and the band-aid and the scab. Might as well go full force, right? Oh, all right. TCG's on his way. Woo woo. The player are so bad. Yeah. The other thing too is I like how the switcheroo with other popular media is of course blame the fans and the peeps. Here we go.
Welcome to a highly anticipated episode of WeeklyMTG, at least highly anticipated in the last 24 hours, because we had some big news yesterday that we're going to spend the entirety of the show talking about. We've been doing a lot of listening over the past 24 hours.
It was Monday. It came out.
Discord and various social media channels to gather a bunch
I'm
of
interested
questions
to see
you
if they
all
explain the
had
tier
about the
system
news,
or what's going on.
Commander yesterday. So we're going to spend time talking about that. We have a bunch of questions that we've pulled from various places all over the internet since then. We are going to take questions in chat. I'm not going to be watching chat, but my team is, and they're going to be feeding me questions. So do feel free to put questions that you have into chat. It helps.
Do agree with you,
Magic,
Cane Shaker,
so that they can catch.
Can we move on
quickly? I do have a long list, and so some of your questions may get answered.
Yeah, Cosmic, I hear you there,
bro.
bro.
Want to hold them and see if we get to them at first. But if
Congrats
not,
for being a member.
we'll be collecting them as we go. And we're going to spend the next hour just answering questions. That's all we're going to be doing. So, and doing that for us are two fantastic guests. You are definitely familiar with these two people. We've got Gavin Berry and Aaron Forsyth. Real quick, if people don't know who you are, what's your role here at Wizards?
Yeah, so my name is Gavin Verhey. I'm a principal game designer on Magic, and I help lead the design group for Commander. So we have a kind of a dedicated group of Commander folks that work on those products, and I help lead the vision for what that's going to be and work on how those products turn out.
Okay, Aaron?
And I'm Aaron Forsyth. I'm the Vice President of Game Design and Creative, and I oversee everyone that's making any kind of cards. And
here you go, buddy.
What we're doing is awesome. So,
how long have you both been here?
Been here 13 years.
23
years. Okay. So, all right. So they know what they're talking about, and they are going to talk about a lot today. Let's start with what was announced yesterday, which is that the Commander Rules Committee has handed over management of the Commander format to Wizards of the Coast. How did we get here, Gavin?
Yeah, it has been quite the week, I would say. So last Monday, the Commander Rules Committee announced some bans for the Commander format of
there he is. What's up, man? Check it out. We're circles now.
And Mana Crypt.
Oh, fancy. Good morning, everyone. Right? Glad to be here.
Levels, there'll be a lot of discussion around it. And the discussion,
yeah, no, that's cool though.
Very heated. It quickly became very heated and escalated immensely. Far beyond the scope that I think anyone could have anticipated for this. Oh, it's been tough. It was really tough listening to how far it escalated, all the way up to hateful messages, death threats, and more.
Right.
Being calls with these people.
Perfect.
The rules committee, who I consider close friends.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
I mean, I was watching a video recently talking about how you can't
we started
have
discussions
three
midway
bad
through the week with
actors,
them.
make
what are we
the
going to
whole
do? Right? This is clearly not okay.
narrative.
And I think one of the
five
things is the rules committee are 5 people who are so incredible and so dedicated.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about the RC. I was talking about the alleged death threaters.
But
right.
At the end of the day, there are 5
and you're on the internet
doing this role in addition to all the other duties they have, and it is a huge.
I'm not big enough. Actually,
and they're volunteers.
TCGDude, give me a death threat so I feel better and relevant.
The amount of problematic messages they were receiving and the amount of impact it was having on their lives.
I'm gonna take your cereal and dump a whole cup of sugar
Wizards
in it.
have a lot of resources.
Oh, you bro!
Time to working on this stuff. So we started talking with them about what this has forward could be, what you could do
that much. So
and ultimately, we all kind of reached
that worked
together.
Yay! I feel relevant.
The best way forward was for them to give us the format, which they were very much on board with doing, and it was something that Jim and others and the whole committee felt strongly about.
But yeah, don't be sending death threats, whatever, right? So those 3 people,
it was not easy to
be like, come on, man.
And
you don't have to agree with the decision,
going into this conversation.
No, absolutely.
For years now, people would ask me
the whole,
internally and externally.
oh well,
like,
we
why
can't
don't
have the iPods
when
in
is
class
Wizards
anymore.
going
They
to
ruined
take
it
over
for
Commander?
everyone.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
I
right.
don't want to. Like, I don't need to. Like, I have enjoyed that. This community created format has been run by the community. They've done an excellent job throughout the years. We've worked with them, to implement things in the comp rules or whatever. We've showed them stuff in advance to make sure it fits the vision and made some changes if it didn't.
Yeah, Cosmic, I hear you that, rip
But we got to
Sheldon.
a point now where like we need to, like, just based on the goings on in the community, want to or not, like this falls on us now, and this is the.
But I
the
mean,
best path
keep in
forward.
mind this is like what, July last year? Sheldon was
Yeah, and I'll say, I mean, just the
who's still there now?
we have these things for design. We basically give
Maybe,
talks
but I think
about,
he was kind of on his
design
way
for
out.
format. And in my talk, so many times I've given about Commander, I talk about how important the rules committee is and the great job they've done.
He was really
so
sick.
It really
so
was, I say, surprised a lot of us,
okay.
but
work he was
ultimately
doing.
the way we all agree we need to move forward.
Yeah.
So.
And before we talk more about moving forward, I do want to.
Hey, Anger, how you doing?
Because this raised a lot of questions, a lot of issues. Some of these people appear in public. We have events. Aaron, do we have
Sorry
any
about that.
plans
I
for
forgot about that.
helping?
I'm trying,
Why
I'm
did that
typing. Huh? That was me. That was
Unfortunately,
me.
this isn't the first time.
I
Things like
have
this
my
I don't know why,
happen
but
screen
that
to
things.
Wizards
Bell makes me
employees or
want
high-
like fish and chips now, bro.
high-profile
What the
members
hell?
of the community. So we have plans. We have
Bro,
teams.
okay, you think that makes you want fish and
We have
chips? Hold on.
protocol,
Yeah,
both,
keep listening.
Oh,
trying
no.
to help them
I'm about to grab
Oh,
with
no.
stuff going on online, and then at our big in-person
Where
events,
is it?
we
Can you
beef
still
up our
hear me?
security and assign it
Yeah.
as needed to where we think there are problems.
Yeah.
I
not to give
actually
away too
bought
much,
a bell
obviously,
the other
it's
day, bro.
Nice.
Better for everyone.
Yeah,
if,
I've been
you
wanting
know,
to use
we-
it on
we
the stream like
keep our
hella bad.
tactics
Pretty much,
to ourselves,
Joey
but
Moss style.
Absolutely,
But
it matters,
yeah.
and we're doing what we can.
All right.
What's that
Okay,
grab?
let's move on from the safety side of things and talk about the practicality of what comes next. Now, this is pretty fresh, but what, Gavin, are sort of the next steps? What are you working on now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right, Blake. This is all, I mean, we started talking about this mid last week, and it's been a lot of work and a lot of discussion in a very short amount of time. So not all the steps are totally clear. And as we talk through this today, we're going to give you some ideas into what we're working on. But I don't have firm
With
concrete
your
answers on
4-level
everything for you
system
today.
of,
But the most
you have an
important thing
ancient
to us
tomb in your level
is that
1, it's
although
an
we are
automatic
managing the
4.
format, it remains
Yes.
a community format.
Yeah,
that is critical.
well, they
That is
said
part of
that
Commander's
was
success.
kind of,
that is how we have gotten to where we are today.
Yeah.
And that's
It's a
something
work
we
in
really want to
progress.
strive with
Right.
to do going forward.
I
So
think that's the main idea,
we're
though.
working with
All
talking about
right.
the rules committee and
Let's
and
go.
tag and trying to figure out what we want to do going forward, and kind of the direction that I think we're kind of settling on is something akin to what we've done with the Pauper format panel. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be a one-to-one analog.
Yeah,
We're
a
still
lot of
figuring out the exact
unbans.
details
A lot of
around it.
people are saying
But a
don't
group of
unban.
folks that we can work with. And if you're not familiar with the Pauper format panel, it's a group of folks that are all very dedicated to the format that I work on from the Wizards side, and they are from around the world. And we talk a lot about the format and what changes we want to make.
Yeah.
And of course, Pauper is one of the smallest formats in Magic.
I wonder if
Commander
he's
is the
wearing
largest
the
format
orange
in Magic,
pants.
so there's going to be some differences there. But I want to create something along those lines to be able to work with the community on our
That's my
decisions.
new
And I
stick,
expect
bro.
that anything we want to
EDH
change,
is a
we
tickle
talked
fight
about
to
with
me.
that group. Exactly
Love it
who's
or
on
hate
it, exactly how big
I
it
have a
is.
joke I've been
all that
like
stuff is to be
chewing
determined.
back,
We're in
but
active discussions
that
about
was
that right
not the
now.
time.
But
yeah.
it'll be involving it will involve reaching out to a lot of people who are very close to the Commander format, including
Yeah,
RC
right,
members,
Anger.
tag members, and so on, folks who already know and have identified themselves with the format to be a part of this. So more information on that as it becomes available, but that kind of thing is exactly what we want to be doing here by putting the community still at the center of a lot of what we're doing.
Yeah, part of why this format is hard to run and why I was not, chomping at the bit to do it, is that it's unlike every other format we run. We don't get tournament data. We don't get tons of data from Magic Online about, and where we're making the decisions about, a card is clearly too good because it's winning too much or showing up too much.
Yeah, you do have the data.
And all of our other
It's
formats we
listed
manage
on
with a
Goldfish
mixture
every
of
week.
data and sentiment.
Bro,
such a
maybe the
lie.
How
format
many
is balanced,
channels?
but no one likes this. No one likes it.
How many
Make a
channels
change.
out
So,
there
maybe the
for
format is
talking
imbalanced.
about
Magic
everyone's
Commander
loving it. Okay, we'll
alone?
leave it alone.
Yeah,
This one's all
but no,
this
he's
one's
talking about
all
we don't have the data for
sentiment
it.
driven for the
That's
most part.
a bunch of
yes,
BS.
obviously at some point
They have
Right.
leaked
the data becomes irrefutable or the card is too good.
all the time.
Well,
That
we
is
can do
how
something
we
about that.
understand
But in
the
general,
meta.
it's more like,
We
are
couldn't
people
have
having
the
fun? Are
conversation
they
of how much
adhering to the
meta
spirit
there
of what's
is
going on?
without
How do we
that
know
data.
this?
Yeah.
And we play it in-house a lot. Though I expect there'll be multiple games outside my office at lunchtime today, but that's
Are you guys working or
it's
playing
such a
Magic?
huge
You'll never know.
disparate community that
Yeah.
enjoys different things, and we need information from as many parts of it as we can
Mhm.
to know like what we're supposed to do next.
Unban
community development,
Power 9.
a format
okay.
panel, whatever shape that's going to take, like vital.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to be a bit blunt, Aaron, because this is a question we see a lot in a
Oh, he's
lot of
getting
different
blunt now.
ways.
Nice.
Hey,
Get
it's
away.
legal in my state, bro.
Fans,
Heyo.
I'm sure a lot
Hell
of
yeah.
people watching right now.
Hello.
They like that. It's one of the reasons he's here. But their concern is that the Commander Rules Committee was a group of volunteers. They were literally there for the love of the game. Wizards of the Coast is a business and needs to make money, and they're worried about that profit motive seeping into our decisions. How do you,
Gavin's got
as
the
a vice
death stare
president,
blank.
look at
Yeah.
long-term and short-term actions here?
I am also here for the love of the game, as are to a person everyone on my team, and I'm fortunate to be in a position where the buck kind of
Did he
stops with
rules
me.
with an iron fist?
Yes, Hasbro wants things.
Idiot.
Yes, my boss wants things.
Yeah.
Those things are pretty fluid, intangible.
They are pretty fluid, but the point
I have
is
a lot
that
of
your
freedom to
allegiance
execute
ends with
as
your
I see fit
paycheck.
for
bro.
what I think the best thing is for Magic as a whole.
Mhm.
You're not going to be out there
I
making
want
statements
this.
quitting your
I've
job
said this in
over
many
Magic.
talks, as Gavin mentioned,
Sorry.
Right.
team meetings.
I
Our
mean,
goal is
I'll
to
let
make
him
this
prove
thing
me
last
wrong.
forever. Our goal is to grow it. We obviously
right.
want as many people as we can playing
heard
it.
him,
We make
Aaron.
a lot of decisions and products to try to increase the reach and the different kinds of ways to engage with the game. But like, we can't make decisions that turn off the community. We can't make decisions that make people want to leave or quit or whatever.
Right.
So keeping everyone happy, making the game as fun as possible for as many people as possible is the way we're going to make our money.
Yeah.
And so I think, once you accept that, like, our motives should align with how most people enjoy the game, if it's going to work properly, and it has, for going
Oh, the
for over
moderator's
30 years
working
now.
overtime right now.
That's going to be why we make decisions. We want people to keep playing. We want people to enjoy the game. And if there are things that we have done that make it less enjoyable, we will address them. And that's how we plan on
Look
running
at
the
Pigway.
band list.
Let's
And
all
just
be
how we run card
friends.
design for all these years.
Well, and that's a good segue into talking about the ban list.
What's the plan?
We
What's the
made
plan, man?
Statement in the article that we
Another
do
one got
not
banned. Oh,
plan
man.
to.
I mean, I
ban
feel
any
like
cards
they're
coming
gonna
up,
just,
but we
you
are
know, buckle
looking at
down
the list.
eventually and
Can
be
you talk
like,
a little bit
it's
more
like,
about your
you know,
thoughts and philosophy
we didn't
there.
like doing
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
It's like when
So
your
as
parents
one of the
spank you
things
and they say,
we're
"This
doing
hurts
with
me
Magic
more
format
than
is we're gonna
you."
do it out of the ban list.
Yeah,
We'll go
all
over that, see if
right.
there are any changes we want to make.
We didn't
We're not
want
gonna
to
be
ban
banning any
the
cards as a
cards.
part of
This
that.
hurts us.
Whether or not cards will be getting unbanned is unclear, right? We're still having those discussions. It is all very fresh. But one of the things that is important to me
They
is
want
that
to
the
unban
community
Not
is
channel.
part of that. So I want to wait until the panel,
And
whatever format
Golos.
takes, is up and
Yeah,
running,
okay.
so we can talk with them about it and figure out what direction we want to take there. It is something that there'll be no doubt a lot of opinions about, and something that I think as a format we deserve to dig into a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing I do
I'm
want to
super
stress,
stoked,
though,
bro.
is we know that Commander is something that moves slowly.
I
right?
found a
Commander is
9-cent
something
card
that,
I've been looking for.
takes time.
In my
We don't want to
stash
be making all
on the
kinds of changes
move.
all the time to the format, right? We might have this initial evaluation, which will
So
come at some
stoked.
point in the future. We don't know when that's going to
And
be yet.
the
But
pin
we're not looking
behind
at doing
Blake's
tons and tons
ear.
and tons of check-ins and changes to what's happening with
Mhm.
the ban list, because stability is a key part of what makes Commander Commander.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
something you
Oh,
said there
dude.
made me think of it.
Is
Are
it
we
stable?
planning
I don't know
to?
how Commander's
So we
stable.
just changed our
I don't
BNR
view
cadence
that
for our
format as
competitive
stable, I'm
formats.
sorry.
Are we planning to tie?
I
Commander
guess
to
I
that,
don't
or
play
have
it enough
own
to
cadence?
argue
No, we
that.
won't be aligning
from
with
the
the normal
outside
BNR
looking in,
cadence.
every
I highly
game
doubt
is
Commander
wildly
would
different,
want anything
and all
that
it takes is
frequent or
one miss
often.
of a trigger.
Um,
All it takes
I could
is
imagine a
one
world where we go into
political
quarterly
move,
updates, similar to
and
what
the
Eagles
game
Community
is
has
played
done
in
for
a different
years.
direction. That's not
But all that is
consistent.
still TBD. But the short version is I would not expect constant bans or changes or anything along those lines, because stability is a key part of Commander.
Now, one
I guess you
of
could frame that in
the,
like it's stable with the
things we
bans.
did
Like
have
we know
some
what we can
new
play and what we
information
can't.
on was a system
Right.
that we've been working on for
Oh,
a
just like
short
what's
amount of
next
time.
is the real
the
thing.
bracket
This
system.
is
So
the
we have
bracket
a
system.
graphic
It's
that our
important.
team very quickly put together that we can put up. And Gavin, why don't you talk a little bit about the idea behind the Commander Power Bracket?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll start with one of the biggest things that Commander faces, especially as you're going out and playing with people outside your play group, like at your local game store or Magic Cons, is finding people to play with decks that are in a similar power category to you. And we've been talking a lot about that internally. It's one of the hardest nuts to crack for a Commander. And the Rules Committee's talked about how that's been a challenge for a long time. It's been a challenge for a long time. And something we've only recently really started talking with them about is the idea of the system. So the idea of the Commander Power Bracket system is as follows. We would take a lot of staples for Commander and divvy them up into buckets, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Bucket.
These don't have names right now. This is all very, very fresh and new. If you have great name suggestions,
there we go. That's what I was interested in.
Maybe numbers is the best. But one Power Bracket, one level cards are cards that
bucket.
Any deck could very conceivably play and are kind of often staple-y cards at, we put them in precons all the time. Things like Swords of Plowshares,
They actually
Brave
have the
Titan,
audacity
sort of like precon power level roughly or below.
Staple card.
All the way up to bracket number 4, which are some of the strongest cards you can play in Commander and mini cards players don't want in their games, right? Like Armageddon is on here as an example. That is a card that is generally not super fun for a lot of people if it shows up in a game, but some people and some tables do enjoy playing. Your deck is then defined by the highest power bracket card that is in that deck.
Okay,
so for example, on this list right here, if my deck contains Adriana's Magistrate, then it is a power bracket 3 card, unless it also contains a power bracket 4
Armageddon
card.
in your level 4.
Now, the system is not perfect. Nothing is ever going to be better than sitting down with your table and having a conversation about your game, having a conversation about what kind of game you want to play. Nothing can ever replace that. But what we found with the old power level 1 for example, is people like having something quick, easy to reference. Hey, what number are you? Now the power level 1 through 10 system has a lot of problems. It's not been successful because in part, first of all, the first 5 to 6 numbers don't really even exist. Every deck is a 7. There's no immediate things you can point to in terms of cards and where they would fall on this scale. And everyone's play group is different. So what is a 7 in my play group would be quite different from what is a 7 in your play group. But having clear benchmark cards, I think, will help those conversations happen. And if your deck is really a 2, but it contains reparations, that opens that conversation up to the table. So you can talk about it with your group, which is ultimately the best way to find a game that is the right thing. So it's all very fresh. It's all very new.
In other words,
it is
to play a
not
2-hour game
fully
of
fleshed out by
Commander
any
with a
means.
1-hour
Put it as an example of the collaboration we've been doing together, and something you can hear more about in the future.
There you go. I demand reparations for my Jewel
I
Lotus.
think this ultimately will be useful when we get it right. I know my own journey. As having been a Pro Tour player or whatever. I'm like, oh, they're playing this. They want to play reparations. My deck has Armageddon in it.
I don't know if you check the prices.
I'm told, like, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. At least I'm like, what do you mean? Right now. Like, I know I'm not supposed to buy Arisen people.
Hard
That's written
and
down
right
here in the list of things I'm not allowed to do. Codifying some of the, like, if you're playing with cards up at this tier, people that are playing with cards down in this tier may not appreciate it, or
they kind of touch base on the tier
to the game, or is
not
not in the
really
spirit of what's going on. I think writing more of that down will help.
Yeah, basically.
What happened to me,
exactly,
and several other people that I know, they won't step on that landmine and be told, "Nope, take your deck apart. You're not welcome here." That wasn't my intent. Like, I wasn't trying to be the bully, but like,
That's why we're talking over, because it's the same talk.
There are a lot of unwritten rules that I think that we're going to talk about would help with.
Well, I mean,
I remember our first Commander game, I think you strip mine. I feel that. That, by the way, is not a thing I enjoyed. So yes, fighting the power back between us.
I can't hear you, bro. Interesting, and we definitely want to hear from the community on where cards go. I don't know that it's going to be a strictly power level sort of thing. Like, I'll give you an example from a game I played at a Command Fest a while ago, where we sat down at the table and someone played a Lotus Petal on turn 1. Now, there are more powerful cards and more powerful accelerators than Lotus Petal. It's a one-shot thing. It's essentially a treasure. But a Lotus Petal kind of signals something about your deck. Like, there's, if you play a Lotus Petal, you are dedicated, because that's probably like 5th, 6th, 7th down.
Your thing's clipping a little bit.
Accelerators. And so I think it'll be an interesting conversation about where cards lie versus their sort of objective power level.
That's so strange.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Lotus Petal is a great example too, because there are plenty of super high power decks to play Lotus Petal.
Is that me?
Also, maybe
I don't think so.
Playing my fun little Tesharm on a white deck, and I just want a cheap historic trigger, right? And so that's the conversation that once again you would have with your table. It can't ever replace that, but it's a good thing to get you directionally started.
Yep.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't hear anything on
Digging
my
into
end.
that
I'll
more, I
switch.
wanna
I'll switch
read a
mics
question that
now.
came from our
See, yeah.
Discord.
This wireless
there a
mic, when it's
dedicated
in
team
between
that's going to work
active
on
and
the bracket
inactive,
system?
it does that little buzz. I
Um,
don't know why. It's
of
like
all
fucking
dimensions.
5 years
Professional and
old. You know what I'm
professionally designed
saying?
power
So
system is
like,
something we're
it's
very hopeful for.
Oh,
yeah,
if
I
it's
don't get too
properly
upset at
implemented,
it, but
can be
as
very
long as the
helpful
buzz is
in
gone now,
format
we're good,
longevity
guys.
and overall structure.
Yep.
What are your plans for developing and constructing this bracket system?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, I want to work with that community group on it a great deal. We've been doing some work already with our design team to kind of figure out where we think cards might go, but ultimately involving the community is going to be a big piece of this. So if you have thoughts, please send them our way. Like, I would be happy to hear them on
Yeah,
social
I was
media.
just telling
Our
my girl
Discord
last
is a great
night, why
place
didn't they
for them
run a
as well.
survey? You know how many
And we're going to
surveys
continue
they've
doing
sent
some
out
talks
about
with our design team
arena
to
and
kind of get some
expansion
initial structure
packs?
figured out.
Like,
But then once this community group is up and running, I really want us to all take it. And you know, ultimately, I don't know how many people are going to be in this group, but not everyone is going to agree perfectly on everything, because if we try and sort 100 Magic cards into 4 buckets, there's going to be different opinions there. But getting directionally about right on where we want to go with everything, and then rolling it out, and then even fine-tuning it over time based on your feedback is going to be critical. And the nice thing about this is it's pretty easy for us to move some stuff around with proper communication. So it might take us a little bit of time to get it right, but we're eager to
define move
Now,
stuff around.
is this meant to replace rules?
Yeah.
No, Rule
You
Zero
mean
is still
sort
like, as I mentioned
2,700
earlier,
cards,
the best
yeah.
thing you can do
Or
in any game is sit
27,000,
down and
sorry.
have a conversation about what kind of game you want
Right.
to play.
Yeah.
Right. And Rule Zero
Just
and picking
unban it
conversations are great
or
for that.
CDH
But
split.
just like how many
They're not
folks would use
even
power level
addressing
to approximate
CDH.
something now and kind of bypass that discussion,
Mhm.
this will send you directionally on the right path. And once again, if that creates a discussion at your table, then great. We've
Ban
got you
close
to
and
do Rule
Commander.
Zero
Oh God,
inadvertently.
no.
So
Yeah, it can shortcut a lot of the.
I mean, I guess
It's
it
done right.
depends on
It'll
your play
shortcut a lot
group,
of those
maybe. I
conversations,
don't
and
know.
it'll allow us to set up things at
But that is a
events
Rule
where,
Zero
power level
question.
2 pod,
Over here,
and
yeah.
everyone knows what that
Mm.
means. There's not a lot of ambiguity or
Mhm.
is my deck really that? I don't know. I promise I won't infinite combo people
Yeah, right.
unless I'm losing. You know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So speaking of infinite combos, you know, we saw a lot of this conversation also
Make Commander players
bracketed
wear
around
deodorant. Damn, fool.
CEDH or competitive Commander. How do you
Deodorant.
all view the bracket
Yeah.
system and competitive Commander?
mandatory.
And the whole conversation around CEDH.
yes, so internally at Wizards, the thing we primarily designed for is what I'll call casual Commander, right? Just the more
Where we
There it
use
is.
our
and that's where I focus is going to mostly be with the bracketing system. But with that said, we know there is
Nice.
a CDH audience out
You
there.
got your stream
and I would
deck
like to make sure
working?
there's at least one person. from CDH
technically
They're
it works.
most heard.
Okay.
So I'm on my
as a
laptop
work
right
on all
now,
of this.
and
Commander,
I
like I said, the majority of
first
it
set
is
it up
kind of
on my
social casual. That is what we're
desktop.
focused on here.
So all the
But especially as you look at that,
hotkeys are
fourth
voided
power
out.
level
and I have
bracket,
to
Oh, okay.
that's a place we could
replace
potentially
them. Yeah. So
talk about putting
actually, I might
CDH
be running a stream
signal.
later
That
today.
is-
So
that is
maybe
where a lot of
hopefully
these cards
somebody
go.
will want to hang out and
Would you ever do
co-pilot
two
with
separate
me,
ban
and
lists?
we can work all
No,
those
this
kinks
thing
out.
needs to.
We'll see what's up.
This
I
power
got
bracket
at my
system needs
kid
to
visit
do all
and
that work.
a lot of
Oh, yeah.
cleanup from this
and,
move.
Maybe
Oh,
level
for
4
sure, for sure.
becomes
No, I mean, not. I
thought
wasn't
of
really
as that.
meaning
I
you
don't know. That's where we
specifically,
need to
just
get
in
the input
general.
and
I've
figure it
been
out. But I
wanting
do.
to
Oh,
look
yeah.
at 2014
I do
bucks,
acknowledge
too.
that this community
Anyways, these
exists.
guys are talking
People
about
enjoy
something
it.
here.
I want to allow
Yeah.
for it in whatever system we come up with.
System
I
is
mean,
not set,
continuing-
guys.
The bulk of our working decision making is going to be about the lower stakes. We're just here to have a good time
Mhm.
and do crazy things, Commander style
Mm.
gameplay. But
Crazy things.
much like we do for every kind of Magic, we want people to be able to push things to the highest level. That's why we have Pro Tours and whatnot. And at the same time, still allow for fun at home experiences. So we think we can thread the needle if we do this right.
I
That's
think
right.
the Vampiric Tutor.
My
on
show
the game,
always
which were the two
has fun
cards
at home
on the screen a moment
experiences.
ago, listed under the 4, kind of show different dichotomies there. Vampiric Tutor is a card that is, of course, heavily CDH played. It's heavily played in high-powered Commander decks. You see it all
I'm
the
still
time.
listening,
And
but
that
I'm
was sort of
away
wrong
from
on
the
that
keyboard
list.
real quick.
Armageddon is a card that is not really played as much or comparatively in something like CDH, but it's still just a card that you really want to opt into. That is an experience that, like, okay, if I'm sitting down at this table and there's Armageddons and Blood Moons and Strip Mine Crucibles and all this stuff, I know that's what I'm getting myself into. And that's kind of what we want to have living right there. So there's multiple kind of things that could show up on that list.
Okay.
And I'll finally just emphasize that it's all fresh, it's all new. We're still working on it and defining it. We welcome your feedback, and we're working with a lot of people to try and get this right.
I am going to take a break from our questions that we had down because chat has a lot of good questions. about the bracket system, and so I want to pause here and answer some of those. So Kalaji writes, I feel like the 1-4 system will limit the reprints in future Commander products. How, Aaron, you kind of talked about thinking of the bracket system in terms of pre-cons. How are you, obviously it's not set right now, but how are you thinking about pre-cons and the buckets?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
can't say
question,
I've
bro.
thought a ton about it. Like,
Yeah.
Again, we're 2 days into living in this universe.
Huh.
I'm
But
pretty
you're
sure
literally
that
paid to do it,
whatever
bro.
ends up in
Right?
plan is things that we would not be putting in precons. The Armageddons of the world, even the vampiric tutors. We try to limit tutors in our precons generally. But that does make me wonder, if we put a 3 in a precon, does that make that precon a 3? Is a single card sufficient to identify?
That's literally what you guys just said earlier was the
A
bar.
little bit more robustness,
Right?
So, yes,
part of
the
that
answer is
system
yes.
as well. So we will have to put this all through our paces. I said this is pretty hot off the presses.
Yep.
And as soon as you start poking holes in it, there's going to be places where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good thought. We need to reevaluate that. And that's
Soul
exactly
Ring
one of
is
those.
okay. It was abused as a baby ring.
Related,
Just let it
as we
pass.
continue
It's
to poke
fine.
holes in it.
Yeah.
Soul Ring.
Yeah.
So Soul Ring was obviously a big part of the conversation and its power level, but you can put it in the
Speak of
format.
the Soul Ring devil.
Obviously, we don't have it figured out,
Mm.
but how do you two think about Soul Ring?
Yeah, when it comes to Soul Ring
Yeah.
is the iconic commander card. It has been
Yeah,
in every
okay.
precon we have made. There are so many awesome versions of it out there. People identify it with the format. It is the loading screen for this very weekly MTG was
You know
Soul
who doesn't
Ring.
identify it with Commander?
Soul Ring
People
is
who
not going
actually
anywhere.
played with
I
Soul
would
Ring in the
expect Soul Ring
90s.
to be kind of
Right.
almost, if I can even use it, bracket 0, if that makes sense. It is just like such a foundational thing that everyone knows and loves. Yes, it is very powerful. It would, if it were any other card, show up in a higher tier. But every commander deck can have a Soul Ring because that is part of the structure that's been created for this format. And I think a thing that's really been viewed by the community we want to carry forward here. Soul Ring, yes, I expect that to show up.
It will be in bucket 1. I mean, if we put it in every precon, we assume everyone's going to play it. I made peace with Soul Ring years ago. I get it. It's part of this format, and that's fine. And fun in many cases. I mean, like Polluted Delta is one of the most powerful Magic cards ever printed. It'll be in bucket 1 as well. So it's not just going to be a raw power.
Oh, so fetches are bucket 1.
indicator.
There you go.
We're not bucketing cards just on like how powerful of a Magic card is this.
But
in a
what if he
vacuum?
puts Arid
What does this
Mesa
do
at
to the
bucket
format?
3? Nobody wants a
message do
mountain
we
or a
wanna send?
plane.
How do we
It's
wanna
all
help
about
people
that
find
island,
games
baby.
that feel
Yeah,
connected to
right.
one another? And saying Soul Ring is anything other than like, yeah, this is just the thing you see
Yeah,
every
I
single
can't take
time
them
you-
seriously. They
so
haven't
you
banned
can't
Island yet.
striate based on it. It's just not useful.
Right. If one of the goals is to get you into games with people with similarly powered decks to you, Soul Ring is in essentially every commander deck.
Yeah.
And so having it be at the lowest level is kind of an indicator of what kind of game you're expecting to play. If we put it in 4 and every deck was suddenly would be in that bracket, it's not really what we're intending to do here.
Yep.
So yeah.
Makes sense.
Right. So if there's folks out there assuming the first thing we're going to do is ban Soul Ring, bad news.
One
Joke's on
question
you.
/ idea that I've seen a lot that I'd love to talk about is one that I actually sort of championed internally just because I'm a Canadian Highlander fan and I have to get at least one mention in every show. But is
It's a meme for him.
generalized points.
Yeah.
It's like on Super Troopers with the
For those who
meow.
don't know, Canlander works on
Right?
a 10 point
Right,
scale.
meow.
10 points to put in your deck. Most cards are worth 0 points, and then the highest powered cards are worth anywhere from 1 to I think 8 points is the highest. But you can only have 10 total points in your deck. Have you all thought at all about a point system?
Oh, God.
Yeah, we've talked about it when we were exploring systems. I mean, of course, points is one that is naturally used by other formats like Canadian Highlander. And
minis games use those.
Yes, all kinds of places in gaming have used them as well.
Yeah.
Oh, someone likes points.
He's like, don't interrupt me.
Points is a very nuanced thing.
Yeah.
And it's very hard when you get into places that are not competitive formats. So
Yeah.
Canadian Highlander mostly played competitively. Many of these games that have point systems play competitively. Commander is more like what kind of play experience do you want? And if we give people a point structure, there'll be so much min-maxing on like, oh, well, I'll spend my points on this thing to get this wild combo in my deck or what have you. And then
already
also
starting to happen.
it's so much gradation to it.
Oh
Of like,
my
oh, I'm a
God.
25-point deck. Well, you're a 35-point deck. You're a 60-point deck. What does that actually mean for us as we're trying to play a game? It's not particularly helpful in telling what kind of play experience you have.
Yeah, it's
Because
literally
my
going to
25
translate
points
out the
all
same with the
consider
tier
1
system.
point,
Oh my
and
God.
your 25 points are from 3 incredibly powerful cards that are, whatever, 10 or so points apiece. That doesn't help us actually align on the kind of similar game to play. There are lessons from it I think we can take that are really useful. But I think some kind of like this power band is the level of which we are generally playing on. And I know I will not expect to see cards from this higher level. It's a very important thing that brackets.
There was
do
one
as opposed
comment
to
up there.
points.
It says, the education
about,
system is in the toilet. You expect them to
combos?
do
There are
math
plenty of
proper?
cards that on their own are
Right?
not
We don't
super
pay enough
powerful,
taxes for you
but
guys
with
to
another
do
card,
damage for
win the game
blockers.
immediately or pretty
Yeah,
close
that
to it.
too.
So how are you thinking about combos?
But a
in this
point
bracket?
system?
Yeah,
Man.
I think we've only started talking about this recently, but I think combos very much do deserve space together on this. I'll use one that is very classic, very well known, Thassa's Oracle and Monarch Consultation, or Tainted Pact, or any number of cards. In isolation, those cards are not necessarily a problem on their own, but together they would certainly be a 4 under this listing, right? It's a 2-card combo that is very cheap, that wins you the game. That is a thing many players generally do not want to play with in their commander experiences, but some do. It's important we give a place for that to live. And I think identifying some of those and putting them on that list somewhere is going to be important. Now, obviously, there are tons and tons and tons of combos in Magic. Not every single combo possible will be on this bracketing system, but some of the more iconic ones I imagine will make it on.
Another in that same space about fine-tuning this bracket idea, has Brawl on Arena provided you all with any ideas on power levels?
Yeah, so one thing that Brawl does on Arena is it kind of buckets your deck into 4 different categories, which is actually we worked on brackets before I learned this, by the way, but it's a very fun thing to learn. And it seems to be working decently well for them, where it pairs you against people when you're playing Brawl that have a similar benchmark cards. I think there's a lot we can learn from that. Obviously, those discussions are fresh and ongoing, but that was a cool thing to learn. They have a system that is similar and has worked pretty well for getting well match-made games there. Of course, Brawl on Arena is one-on-one. It is, I'm not going to call it competitive, but it is trying to defeat the other person as quickly as possible. So there are other nuances there, but it is heartening. Certainly a heartening data point to hear.
Have these bannings and this discussion given you anything to think about on the design side?
Yes, certainly.
Do you have to bring
talked a lot about
now?
this, not just now, like of the power level of
with
these
your
cards over the
EDH
past
deck
few
in it,
years.
or
for example, I would say
you have
that
like
Lotus
it in
was
4 different
a mistake.
buckets.
Like
See, my bucket says 1. It's a 1, guys.
These are cards that we would not make with heuristics we have today, knowing what we know about Commander.
Everyone's all ban all fast
couple
mana.
of years, I think we've been pretty good in general about the kind of shape we've been taking with things. The big philosophy that I've been really espousing to the team on the Commander side is
if you ban all
one of the
fast
biggest
mana,
dangers to Commander as a format
green cards
is
too?
ubiquity.
Yeah.
Look, you had to build a Commander deck. Okay, you're going to start with your Commander and Soul Ring.
Ban Smothering Tithe.
You have 98 cards left to build. Okay, but then we make Command
Study.
Tower. Well, now your Commander deck's going to start with your Commander and Soul Ring and Command Tower. You have 97 cards left to build. Oh, now we've made Arcane Signet. Well, your deck starts with Command Tower, your Commander, Arcane Signet, and Soul Ring. Now you have 96 cards left to build. And if you imagine a future where this goes on, and suddenly there's 10 cards you have to put in every
here you go.
15 cards you have to put in every Commander deck.
What this guy said.
Yeah.
Because what makes Commander so great, what makes it so great, is that your deck is your way of expressing yourself and building something that is unique to you and feels special. And the more we degrade into that, the more trouble it causes. So on the design side, we're trying to do a lot of making cards that are good in specific archetypes, really good in certain strategies, and precons that point you in that direction, but not these cards that will show up in every single Commander deck that in their colors.
Can you address the
I'm not
repeated
saying we're
reprints
perfect,
of Jeweled Lotus if it's
we
considered
really
a
want to try and
mistake?
push back against that as much as possible
Yeah,
and have
no
a ton of reviews
kidding.
going on internally to try and make sure that does not happen. So yeah, when it comes to a card, the cards that were banned on Monday, for example, those are cards that we are trying not to make, like Dockside Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus. Those are cards that you would not want to make.
Well, I'm trying to graduate college, but I keep partying and sleeping in. Oops.
Yeah, right.
No, Naughty, what you didn't bring up it's certainly not does not embody any design philosophy that was just an oversight, and we've said that in writing before, so I don't want people to throw that one up as like, no, you did this. That's never that was never the intent.
That in alphas is like you could have just
but we
reprinted
can't
it
unprint
into the
cards,
ground.
You know,
Yeah.
Once they're made, they're made. The funny thing about design mistakes is that they go on to sometimes be the most popular cards in the game. Like cubes and legacy decks are just like piles of design mistakes in many ways. They're just like all of the most egregious things we've ever done. And then it's up to us to figure out, well, we can say, yep, that one wasn't great, but people seem to be enjoying it. We'll reprint it a few times. We'll put it in some other products. We'll put it in whatever. And now it's just part of the fabric of the format. Or using Nadu as an example, like this one's not going well. This is not adding to the fun of the format. We need to do something about this and then ban it. And those conversations are often very hard, you know, because there are people that will defend every single card out
Why
there.
push
Like, no, it's
script
actually
and
fun to
JLo
strip mine Crucible people.
in the most recent
learn
set
to build a better deck,
only to
if you
allow
don't
it to
wanna
get
strip mine,
banned.
whatever.
Yeah.
You can take every one of these arguments in either direction, and finding that fine line. That's where we need the input, and that's going to be the hard work over time.
Hey, what's up, Bob?
All right, we are almost to the end of our list of prepared questions. So if you do have a question that has not been answered yet, or that you'd like us to dig deeper
Rule
into,
0 great
please do
again.
put it in the chat. Again, tagging @Magic helps the people on my team find those questions. But we will be spending, so we've got about 25 minutes left in the stream. I've got three more questions quickly. They're relatively short that I'm going to ask here, and then we're going to get to live questions. So if your question has not been answered, feel free to put it in, and we'll get to them. This next question, I'm actually going to take this one. We've seen a lot of questions about digital integration and like, can we have tools for this? And obviously, again, very fresh. But when this came up, my team already started talking about this. So one of my teams is the web team that manages, among other things, our format pages. And we had already been talking about we need to refresh our format pages. And so when this bracket idea came up, the team immediately was like, wow, it'd be really cool if we had a tool on our commander page that was like, put your deck list here and we'll tell you what number it falls into.
There you go.
So yes, that is something we've already started discussing.
Yeah, they have a salt meter on other websites that does something similar.
But I think a lot of us are very excited about the possibilities there.
Imagine developing the game and then letting fans develop it better.
Hopefully a quick one,
right?
Gavin. What about the Silver Bordered project? And this was a rules committee project that they were working on, but hadn't come rolled out yet. Is that going to be canceled? Do you have any?
Let them pay with their pony.
Yeah, I think it's a cool project because a lot of players do enjoy playing with silver bordered cards. Not everyone wants them in their game, but having that discussion and figuring out the details around that is still going to be important. It is, I'll be candid, it is not as important as a lot of the other stuff we're trying to figure out right now involving how this is all going to move going forward. But at some point in the future, I do think the thing will resume and take a look at. I think it's a great project to work on with the community group as well. I know that many people on the RC and CAG currently have been working on this, and we can hopefully take the seeds that they've planted and in this new group all work together to make something great here in time. I wouldn't expect anything soon, but it is something I want to continue forward.
All right. And then lastly, what is your timeline on everything? What are you aiming for? You know, we've got MagicCon Las Vegas coming up. I know a lot of people see us take this over and they're like, okay, now what's going to happen? What is your timeline on all of this?
Yeah, well, I mean, as we've emphasized a number of times, this is all happening quick, right? It's all fresh. We're also figuring out exactly when things are going to occur. The goal I would like to shoot for is having something with the power brackets ready to go by MagicCon Las Vegas. So we can have an article up, something up the point in that direction, and we can kind of try it out there. Maybe we can get some fun little things made for the tables so you can get what power bracket you're in. But I don't want to promise anything.
Base
right?
on it, Bob, but
take the time to do
they don't have
right.
anything formulated yet. You know what I mean?
An important format to a lot of people, myself included.
I'm not,
and I would rather take the time to do something correct than rush it out before
in this point system thing, or not point system, but bracket or
my first goal is to get the committee.
It's interesting.
And
it also matters what type of decks you're playing against. True.
Start those conversations because I don't want to make too many other decisions without them.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not going to ban, unban, whatever, change rules without that committee existing. So if people want some sort of immediate action, it's not prudent. It really isn't. We need a lot of introspection here, a lot of input, and we don't want to do anything crazy or knee jerk or anything like that. I believe those conversations will be happening this week, starting to identify people, reach out to them. And then let Gavin, run his first meeting or whatever that's even going to look like. I have no idea.
Oh, the 1 through 10, dude.
Yeah,
I don't even
I'll
know,
echo that
man.
entirely. Once again, the community focus.
I
here is
upgrade
critical to
my
us, so
pre-con. I
figuring
think it's
anything out
dope, and everyone's
in
all, dude,
earnest,
that's like a
having
6
that
or 7,
touch point
right? It's
created
like, okay,
is
I
really, really
don't
important.
know.
And I literally have meetings about this later today, so we'll be working on it fast.
I appreciate you coming on the show first. Okay, with our last 20 minutes, I'm just going to start running through questions.
All right, here we go.
These are not questions we prepared for, so we answer to a lot of them. Maybe we're going to figure that out. But so, for example, our first question from Noodle Penguin: how big do you guys
Noodle
envision the
Penguin,
new
my
team
hero.
directly in charge of Commander will be?
Right.
What?
So when it comes to this community focus group, which is I think what they're talking about here, we're still figuring out exactly how big we want it to be. We're looking at something in the range of between 10 and 20.
Well, it's already started, Bob.
Unclear how it's going to look
Just
at this time.
now we're just like, okay, what are you going to do?
There. So it could end up larger, could end up smaller. That's TBD based on a number of things. I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
and then in terms of designs impact,
they don't have it completely formulated yet.
The
so
commander
it's
design
like,
team,
okay.
and in that group, there's probably about 12, maybe 10 commander designers, and they'll also, of course, be working on this to some degree as well. So, both Wizards and the community collaborating together.
Okay. We got a couple questions in this same space, so I'll ask the shorter one. Will this new community focus panel help include any members of the CEDH community?
Yeah, and I mentioned this earlier, but it is actually really important to me that we have at least one person who knows the format and can speak to that on there to be a voice for that community. The focus of Commander from a design perspective is the kind of more traditional casual social commander, but I don't want to downplay the fact that CDH is a community that has a very excited audience and a lot of people very active in the game who are passionate about it, and make sure they have a seat at the table is critical.
Yep, right. Designing cards and products, we're aiming at the middle, but rules and floor rules and ban lists have to account for the extremes. So absolutely, I think it'd be great to hear from those folks on these matters.
Cool. All right, from 2023 Mod 3UZ. The old RC was very American-based. How will you work on making it less so, and how will you ensure that Europe, Asia, and so on get a voice as well?
So when I was helping put together the Pauper format panel, something that was really critical to me is that we got a wide spread from across many different areas. It's too early to tell what it's going to look like and what the exact mix is going to look like here for this new community focus panel. But making sure we have a spread of people that can provide feedback, I think is critical to making sure that it all runs smoothly, because we want to be able to hear from many different regions as to what is happening in their area, right? Both around the US, around North America, places like Europe, and so on. I can't guarantee it's going to look exactly the same in terms of the percentages of the mix, but getting representation in there from many different places, I think will do us a lot of good.
Okay. Next question. I saw this almost immediately when we talked about the bracket system. Would you consider a 5th bracket for CEDH?
We are certainly not tied to the number 4. We tried doing it with 3, and it did not feel like enough. But we could potentially talk about doing more. I'd like to start with 4 and see how it all turns out. But this is pretty fresh and new. So as we begin doing the exercise, if it feels like we need a 5th one, we can do it. I'll say personally, for me, I often enjoy scales that don't have a midpoint, because it forces you to kind of pick a side on where you want to fall. But that is certainly not a heuristic we're going to hold to by any stretch.
Okay.
We'll go with Aaron on this one. Will there be a plan to print how-to guides explaining the bracket system in products like pre-coms?
There you go.
That's interesting. At the very least, we can put QR codes or URLs in there to make sure. Have questions about how to tune your deck? Go here. I do think ultimately, whether it's in our companion app or on our website, information being on people's phones is the best place for it, as opposed to pieces of paper that are in products. But at the same time, yes, the product should acknowledge that this exists and talk about it and let people know where to go. So that's a good thing. That pathing will be important to build in for sure.
And I agree. I totally agree with that. And I think that it will take some time to get there, right? First, you want to flesh this out, figure out how it looks, put it through its paces, make sure it is actually accomplishing its goals, and then at that point, I think putting it into products on the inserts and so on will be great.
All right. Given safety concerns after this recent announcement, would we have the Commander Advisory Committee or whatever we end up calling it, would we make them anonymous? Would we make them public figures? Would we give them a choice?
Still discussions happening about that. One thing I think is important is I don't want it to seem like there's some shadowy cabal of people that are on this group that are all making the calls. So I think having some faces there is really important. Whether or not they all have to be public facing, exactly the framework that takes is still something we're talking about. And I will call out that with this group, this is one of the many ways we'll take feedback in. But if someone is not on this group, it doesn't mean we're going to ignore what they have to say or not talk with them, right? There's a lot of folks in the community that I reach out to, that the RC has reached out to in the past to talk about all kinds of things who are not on the CAG or involved in that circle. So we will be interfacing tons with the community in all kinds of fashions. This is one arm of that. So like I said, exactly the shape is still ongoing.
Yeah, I think it's good for us if there are people on this committee that are very public about it and saying, hey, I'm on this committee. If you have an axe to grind, come to my Discord or hit me up on social media, because we want them to be synthesizing, information from the community as a whole. And if they're not in a position to actively solicit it, then it gets more difficult. But yeah, I could easily see us making allowances for like, okay, we're going to say there's 3 other people that aren't willing to go public with their identities or whatever, or their information. Totally get it. There's still probably a lot of good for us there. And it is in no means our intent to ever, expose anyone to anything harmful or dangerous. So that's not. We will think that through.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you talk a little bit more about the complications around combos on the list? One of the comments I saw a lot was, sure, we can talk about Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation, but Magic is just full of game-winning combos. Are we going to list them all? Or are we going to talk about them philosophically?
Yeah, so one thing, once again, super early conversations about this stuff, but one thing we've been talking a lot about is if with combos, they should be more philosophical in nature. For example, bracket 4 is the most efficient combos, your 2 and 3 mana, 2-card combos that will win you the game. Bracket 3 is stuff that's a little harder to pull out, that's a little more mana intensive, like Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood, right? It's a 2-card combo to win you the game. They both cost about 5 mana. And then bracket 2 is like probably no infinite combos, or maybe like 4 to 5 infinite combos are acceptable. But it's too early to know exactly how that's all going to shake out on this list. But I think it's very plausible that a more philosophical approach could help catch some of that stuff. And one thing I want to do with many of the cards that are on the list is talk about why they're there and what that means, right? The fact that this card sits here or this combo sits here might be like, we're not looking to have stuff at about this this range here. For example, tutors, we saw Vampire Tutor on the screen earlier. Instant speed efficient tutors that are at that level will likely end up in bracket 4 for the most part, right? 1 mana tutors, I would expect that Vampire Tutor and probably Enlightened and Mystical are likely candidates for 4. And so you could easily break down tutors in a similar fashion. But TBD how that's going to all play out.
Okay. Aaron, when you think about the brackets, do you envision them being
He's like falling
strictly
asleep.
lists of cards or sort of philosophical definitions of what play looks like there?
I don't think in the middle and at the bottom we can make lists, because we would have to account for every single card in the game or every single card anyone's willing to consider playing in a commander deck. The top, I am more hopeful that we can be a little more concrete about. Even that might require some finesse, and is this card really that bad? Or especially when we get into combos, it's like a Staff of Domination, really a 4. Depends. Do you have, Karametra's Acolyte in your deck or whatever? Pick whatever ways you plan on abusing that card, because by itself, want to pay 5 and tap and draw a card or whatever it is, who cares? But
Yeah.
you know, there are insidious things afoot a lot of the times with some of those cards, and we will not be able to capture them all. To the point about combos, we cannot. I don't think we should be putting cards in brackets based on their worst case scenario necessarily all the time, especially when they have fair uses that people enjoy.
I'll show.
So yeah,
you
I don't
a
expect
fair
the middle to be
use.
much more than guidance. And talking about the experience these cards generate and the speed and whatnot. The top, you know, I would like to try to be.
It already is mislabeled, yeah.
And the more clear we can be there, the better.
The 1 through 10 rating system,
We'll
like
see how that
I
goes.
still
I
don't get
want
it,
to
man.
be 900 cards long or whatever. I think then it will become more bureaucratic than fun and not be that useful. So we'll
That's
see.
what I'm saying over
And
here.
yeah,
is
and
that
once
guys,
again, it is all
everybody
directional,
playing
right? That
Magic
yeah.
moving
communication with your
forward in
table, staff
Commander
domination is a great
format is
example.
going to
I feel
have
like
an hour-long
I have staff
pre-game
domination and other cards that
discussion
theoretically go infinite in my
about
deck.
the game
Right.
It's a
that's
great
going to
conversation
last
to
2
have.
hours, and you're
You
going
sit
to
down
sit there for
about
3
what's
hours
been
for a
the
match that could have been 30 minutes.
Right.
For those who, you know, we've referred to the Pauper Advisory, I forget what it's called, Pauper Advisory Group a number of times. For those who don't know, how does that group work?
Yes, the Pauper format
Tag.
panel is a group of
There we
folks I work with the Pauper format.
We got
The way
the
that
tag, we
group
got
is
the
set up,
tag.
I'm not going to say this one's going to be exactly the same. I think that
Keg.
there'll be a lot of reasons why I want to take things a little bit
Keg.
differently. But the way it's set up is all of us talk throughout the week, basically every week, about what's happening in the format, what trends people are seeing, what things like Magic Online leagues and challenges are looking like. We'll get data in from Daybreak Games and Magic Online that we'll pour over. When the
Unbanned
community has a big
deodorant.
outcry about something, we'll talk about if we want to take action there. When it comes time to actually take action, we'll all work on the kind of announcement together and how we want to communicate that out to the public. And yeah, we also talk a lot about just philosophy, right? What are the things in the format we want to hold close to our chest as important? What are the things we're willing to see shift over time? And overall, I mean, I felt like it's been a really great experience.
Do you see
with that
yourself
group.
making
It's
level
a group
2 or
of
3?
very smart
We were
people
talking
from
about that
around
on
the world
Ingers.
that are all eager to dig into this.
You know, you have
And,
beginner,
it's been very positive,
novice,
and I think that the way we've communicated with the public in a
expert,
very
you
transparent
know, like
way
the old school.
has been really successful. And I've heard hear from you guys all the time that
Can I
we
identify my
appreciate
deck as
what
Super
the
Stan
kind of
level?
depth we go into in these discussions.
That's right.
And with
My
whatever we do with
chat,
Commander, I would
my
expect
deck's a
something
giga chat.
similar in the amount of communication we want to do with you
Yeah.
all. Because especially as a community format, having that discourse and discussion with all of you, and even broadcasting changes we're thinking about in advance is a
There
thing
you
we want to
go.
make sure that we do.
Will card price
that-
factor into ban decisions?
That panel
Yeah,
was
right.
basically an admission on our end that we don't have the expertise in the building, right? We don't design for that format. We don't have people that have spent, you know, hundreds of hours playing it. And if in order to make the right decisions for how to manage it, we needed other input. We do have those people in the building for Commander. We do have people that spend all day, every day thinking about it and playing it. But for us, this using the community, you know, wanting to engage the community in Commander is an admission that like the problem is just so enormous. Like, no number of employees spending their time engaging with the format is going to get us a read on how the rest of the world is engaging with it. So we need more than we can provide ourselves.
All right. You mentioned getting feedback. So obviously there will be people who are on this Commander format group. But if you're someone out in the world, what are the best ways to provide feedback?
Yeah, well, Discord, we have a new Discord set up that I know there's already been a lot of chatter in, so that's wonderful for this. If you want to tweet at me or X at me or whatever we say these days, you can do so online. I'm available on all kinds of social media networks. And also, I just frankly read a lot.
What do you say?
Reddit is one of the most visited websites on my phone. So I'm always reading Magic Reddit. I'm always checking social media. When articles go up, I read those. So whatever way you have to communicate with us, whether it's, and I'm sure I will be reading the Discord some. I know it is moving very fast right now, so I can't process all of it. But I'm sure Blake and his team will be sending over a lot of the top, most popular questions and notes. So we'll be synthesizing all of this in the days and weeks to come.
Yeah,
and
how
me,
will
part of the great thing
bands
about having the community group too is it's not just me doing it, the design team doing it. We'll all be hearing things from the community together, right? And I see this all the time where different people hear different things or read different articles and we can share with it. Share about it. One of the great things about the Pauper group is people will share, oh, did you see this article that came out this week?
One thing about the tag.
And often I'll miss it because I was busy that day or what have you. and all being able to see
Yeah,
it and
they
talk
put
about
away
it is
the
great.
tag.
And I think the community group being someone to pick up on all the different
They did.
threads that are out there in the world will be really, really
Bad
good for this.
CAG, bad.
Speaking of which, we are nearly out of time. I will plug the Discord, the official Magic Discord.
I wanted more time with
There's a
these
link to
guys.
it in the
I know, right?
article from yesterday. Not only is there a main channel to talk about the Commander announcement, but the team broke it up into a bunch of sub-channels. So if you particularly want to talk about the brackets, if you particularly want to talk about the
Fetchland.
bands,
Well, they
if you
said
want to talk
Fetchlands
about
are level
any
1.
number of topics, there are
So, okay.
sub-threads for those, and they're all very active right now.
But what
So I
about
definitely recommend
duels?
checking those out.
Can't play a duel.
There are definitely more great questions in chat that we did not get to. Share them in all the ways that Gavin talked. Head to Discord, share them with him. You can share them with me. I'll make sure they get to the right place. Aaron is pretty active on Twitter as well, and so we are open.
Oh yeah,
and
they're
we
out there with
are
their ban hammers.
eager to hear about your
Oh, yeah.
thoughts. So. Thank you for tuning in.
Ban it all.
Next week's show is a smorgasbord of things. There's a bunch of cool announcements. So we'll talk about next week's show when we get there. But in the meantime, we want to hear more about your thoughts on Commander.
We
on
have
the bracket
more
system,
announcements about
and on
announcements,
moving forward.
please.
So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
About
roll
further
up in there.
announcements.
Discord live.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I also want money without harming the community. Yeah, it was very interesting in here. Like, we kind of got most of it, but I had to leave the chat on because it's just like it's really interesting to see where they're at, like the community as a whole. I've seen really negative stuff in here. A lot of things I don't know what was mentioned, but they got shut down immediately in the chat. Mods were on point. But other than that, man, it was a whole nothing burger today. I mean, what did you gather from this TCG, dude?
Well, thanks for asking, bro. Honestly, I agree. It was a bit of a nothing burger. Not a lot of new details. Not a lot of new details.
Not really.
They like glossed over the talking points and, air quotes, address them, but they didn't really flesh it out. So I think it was just a little bit more of a PR move of just being on camera talking about it than, retweeting and putting out their news bulletins on their website. So maybe that was kind of the play for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're acting as if it wasn't planned. And it probably wasn't, because the who's going to take over for the RC comment was just like, well, this isn't, well, the design team. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So it is kind of sudden, like when Homegirl announced that she was out and moving on to what she moved to was oh god, the bobblehead peeps.
Funko Pop?
Funko. Yeah, she's moving on to Funko. She's all late. Give my bonus, I'm out.
Right? Just gonna
so I will not be your
over
scapegoat.
to another company.
Yeah. Just like, I'm not gonna be your scapegoat. Late. Oh, well, obviously because of Cynthia Williams and it's like, okay, whatever. Convenient.
Right.
Johnny asked, how about non-official combo Dragon Throne of Tarkir and Proud Windbonder? Trample go through as if it not blocked. Oh, I see. So you talk about certain combos. Yeah, well, he kind of addressed that, saying that like they don't know how they're going to do it yet, because a card on its own doesn't isn't broken, but you combine it with this particular card, then it's broken, and blah 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 blah. So yeah, they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, extra turns is in that conversation. I don't know, man. I mean, how feels bad would it be if Brain Freeze was to be banned?
Yeah.
right? I don't know if anybody's not familiar here, but it's I believe an instant or a sorcery for like a low cost in blue that has a storm effect that essentially mills out opponents or even a whole table if there's enough spells been played that turn. And it's just a classic win, right? It's one of those feels good, milled you out type win. But you
Yeah.
know, what if they ban that because a mill is considered toxic or something,
Right.
right? I'm a mill
Yeah.
player, so I know the salt that it induces in people when they're
It's
like,
the most
"Wow,
salt.
yeah."
It's like some people get butthurt about like, oh, you have your commander out turn 4, but them milling your deck and just seeing stuff that you know, maybe you could recur some stuff from your graveyard, but now it's all in the graveyard. You're just like salt, bro. Like the biggest salt. But like, I don't know. I feel sometimes on mill, like, you know, I let anyone play whatever deck on my show because it's interesting, and I gotta learn it all. Like, you know, what can my deck hold up against? And you know, if it's a proper mill strategy, I guess more power to you. It sucks, but hey, whatever. You
I guess
know,
that's an
it is part of the
open-minded
game.
way of looking at
I'm
it.
very
Yeah,
open-minded.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so I'm a big gamer. I mainly play Call of Duty and other first-person shooters these days.
Right.
Yeah. So back in Halo 3 days, you know, late 2000s, they had true skill matchmaking is what they called it, right? And essentially it would pair players of similar skill level up in
Oh,
lobbies.
hold on. For Bob,
Sure.
Words.
not you, but what he was saying about Aaron Forsyth. Yeah, he seems like he'd be a stickler if he was boss, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he is
Definite.
boss. So what am I saying? Yeah. He has that boss attitude. Like, you know, like, oh, dude.
Right, definitely a rules enforcer.
Oh, for sure. But
So
as you were saying,
pardon me. Yeah, thank you. So skill-based matchmaking has been a thing in online gaming for quite some time. And I do feel like it has a home.
1 second, Bob.
Um, and it has a purpose in
Mhm.
multiplayer functions. Um, so I can see, I guess, the intent of wanting a similar system in Magic the Gathering, but I
Yeah.
don't think it translates the same, you know? And that's for various reasons, but I don't think it can be transposed one to one.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. And as Kevin says, there's too many combos to tier list them all. And they said that in the thing too. That's just like, you know, they probably have to do some research. You know, if they have this free resource of a billion gazillion content creators for Magic the Gathering now, and there's already salt meters, so they can kind of go like the most salt and like, okay, that's tier 4. You know,
Yeah.
it's already most of the work's done for them already. You know, but you know, they're figuring it out. I'm really interested and intrigued on just the little tidbits that we did get about this tier system. So it's just like, okay, big combos like or cheaper mana combos is kind of what they're saying is going to be tier 4. So
DJ,
you know,
I
your
am your
tutors.
level 4 deck.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. I wish I could make a level 4 deck. You know, I was really bummed that I couldn't get Rakdos Lizards to pop off. I was like, oh, you know, it's not fast enough. They don't have haste. Yeah, I have to put a lot of things on board for haste enabler, and it's just like, it's too many cards to get it to work right. Hey, speaking of too many cards, what's up, Bob? How you going?
I have too many cards,
Right? You
Like,
could send some
literally,
my
I
way.
do.
I won't say no.
dude.
Right?
I'd have to organize it first to even begin to try to get stuff
Oh, I
together
know.
to send it to you. Those would be just a bunch of jank with like
I know.
one
I
random
mean,
big
like,
card in it.
hey, you got shipping both ways, but I'll, you know, send me money, pay me by the hour. I'll sort it for you. Let's go.
No, that's almost as complex as them trying to come up with a ranking system.
Oh,
I think
God.
this is going to come back to bite them.
Oh,
First
big
off,
time.
why did they bother? Why did they invite the trouble It's called begging the next question, right? Whenever you mention something, it begs the next question. Like, okay,
Right.
and you saw that. Like this whole talk was dominated by, okay, what about this in the bracket? What about this in the bracket? What about this in the bracket?
Right.
It's like, well, we don't know because we haven't really made the brackets yet. Why would
Right?
you
This
mention
is
it before
only
you're
2 days
ready
in.
to explain it? Right? I'm like, just what a Mark Rosewater move there. You know, opening mouth, inserting foot.
Wait, no,
Like,
he's got to
Jesus.
double it though. He's got to double it. The trouble. Then you know it's Mark Rosewater.
It's a terrible idea. Like just as a company, right? Even you know this as just like a small time, YouTube content creator. You don't announce your stuff before you're ready to rock and roll. You don't start selling spots for a draft before you have the boxes, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like, and that's exactly what they've done here. And I think they really stepped in it by announcing that. Like, why bother announcing it? Just be more ambiguous about what their intentions are, that we intend to, what the intent of making the bracket system is. Not that they have one and here there's going to be 4. And then even in this chat, they said, well, we're not married to the number 4. Like already it shows you that they're just flailing at this point.
They're just
they don't have a set plan. Yeah.
I'm actually in favor of them taking over. I'm not going to lie, because I think that the rules committee only cares about the gameplay. The problem is, just like so many, and if you're a Timmy out there, I don't mean to offend you, but you're a Timmy, and there are collectors out there. And the only thing that keeps this game alive is the fact that people can crack a pack and a card has some value. I really wish the community would wrap their head around the fact that out of the 35,000 cards, and I'm not talking about, the Power 9 and all that, but the base card, there are only a handful that were over $100, period. And they just nuked 3 of them. So to have what you're saying, that collectors can't have a dozen out of 35,000 to collect, that's pretty bad. That you have less now. Now we're going to have even less cards that you could be excited about opening in a pack. Right. And that's what this is all leading to.
Exactly. Like, I mean, even those players, Game Piece Army, whatever, you open up a pack and you get a 5-cent rare. Are you not bummed? I mean, you spent $5 and you get $2.
And this is what I'm saying, that by at least allowing WOTC to consider the financial value, because clearly the rules committee did not, about their impact to the community.
But they don't recognize the secondary market, Bob.
Get out of here. That's why there are the special cards that push sets. And again, at least it will have, first, at a minimum, by going to WOTC, there will be far fewer conspiracy theories out there. You won't have this problem of the rules committee versus WOTC. It's all WOTC.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's what I was kind of.
They said, RC dumped all this. They knew insider trading. Well, yes, of course, but also they think they were trying to make them like the Angels, whatever. They're thinking gameplay only. So it's like, if you wanted to combat or something like Mana Crypt, like it's been a staple for 24 years. It's been like, come on.
I don't want to get back into rehashing like the bands themselves.
Oh no,
terrible idea.
I hear you. No, I'm just saying, like, their argument for getting rid of fast mana was like, well, they're not going to get rid of Soul Ring. Okay, well, that's like one of the most powerful mana rocks out there. So,
well, and they couldn't be.
Okay,
they can't be transparent about it. They can't be honest about it. Everybody knows why they didn't ban Soul Ring. It has nothing to do with being iconic to the format, and it's the identity of Commander. No more so than Jeweled Lotus is, and or Mana Crypt for that matter. The problem is, realistically, there are millions of products sitting on shelves that would now have a banned card in them, and it would make the product literally an unplayable product directly off the shelf. Right,
and the other thing too. The other thing too is just like, if you're a new player, already collector packs are confusing because you have cards in there that can't be played in standard. So like, oh, cool, I got this in this collector pack. Oh, I can't use it. Oh, what? And then you have the ban list you have to explain too. It's a little, it'd be a little daunting for new players coming in. So was standard being what, 3 years, or is it like a 10 years? What's the standard? Is it 2? It used to be 2, so now it's 3.
It's
Okay,
3,
yeah.
except let's make this more confusing.
Oh, 5 year set in the middle.
Foundations will be 5 years, right? So let's just make it more confusing.
The real question, especially for our new peeps here too, if you guys can't chat, just I put this mode on so I don't have to keep pitching, hey, subscribe, hit the like, all that, the YouTube crap. But yeah, join us in chat. Let us know, are you getting foundations?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
I'm just waiting to see
about a
what
product that I don't know who it's for. There's one.
Well, it's for beginners.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Buy the set. It's going to be good for 5 years, Bob.
No, it's not. Look, that's only for a beginner who doesn't go to a store to begin. Because if you go to the store, you're not going to be telling anybody who's brand new, oh, yeah, hey, you should pick up this foundation set. And that's how most people get into Magic. It's not like, oh, randomly I saw Magic, and I'm going to randomly, without talking to experienced players, start buying product. Are you kidding me? No, that's not how that's going to work. And let me tell you, it's after the first year, there'll be this weird foundation sitting out there for 5 years that nobody's buying, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, 3 years from now, yeah, there was that set foundations that had this stuff." Like, no,
waifu cards, Bob. Waifu cards in the collectors.
Get out of here. Yeah, nobody's buying the collector box of this. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's going to be a product that sits on shelves. Holy crap! But
oh God,
it's a terrible idea. The foundation set, maybe they're trying to. Maybe this is their whole crap. Let's not make them focus on foundations, which is going to be a poop bomb. Let's create drama, right? Right before we release foundations, let's create this commander drama.
Oh, both Far North, welcome back, man. It's been a minute. I hope you're doing well. And D. Lawson also said, ban Soul Ring, but if you leave it in the precon only, no altars. That's what they did with Stoneforge Mystic, because it was in a precon deck. Yeah, because they banned Stoneforge. It was still in standard. They banned it, but it was in a challenger deck. So,
well, the problem with that is that Soul Ring's in every precon, right? And Stoneforge was in one.
Yeah,
same thing with Dockside. But here we go, talking about adding yet one more layer of confusion to the community, to newer players, blah 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 blah. Supposedly who this was to help. Honestly, they took this away from the rules committee because this was pushed out and it had such a backlash, right? Let's not kid ourselves. That's exactly what just happened here. What is frightening about that, and people aren't talking about the subtext here, is what that means is WOTC, yes, they were involved in this decision. Yes, they knew about it. But who at WOTC? Was it just Gavin and he didn't wrap his head around the impact of it? It's like the left hand's not talking to the right hand at WOTC. Understand this.
No, there's a big disconnect. Yeah.
The rules committee is just some people out there who created the format, much like we did for Commander Raids, right? But WOTC owns the IP. They own the product. And don't kid yourself that they could, in a heartbeat, file a cease and desist against all the Commander Rules Committee and the CAG, because it has a financial impact on the company for their IP. You can't just go out there trashing Disney and costing them money without expecting to get a lawsuit from Disney. Same thing at WOTC. And it doesn't matter that they made the Commander format. If they're costing WOTC money, if they impact them financially, there is no judge in the United States that won't award them a cease and desist. So they have always existed at the good graces of WOTC. And that's why they were working with WOTC, right? So them taking control of it just kind of formalizes it. Nobody's bitching that WOTC's been in charge of the rules for Modern or Standard or Pioneer or literally every other format, minus maybe Canadian Highlander or some weird crap. But you understand what I'm saying, that nobody's been saying, oh, they're going to ruin Modern, they're going to ruin Standard, they're going to ruin this and that. They've always been in charge of it. Now they're just taking one more format. And I think it's actually not a terrible thing. It's going to have trade-offs for sure. But I don't think it's the end of the world for Commander. And I don't think it's necessarily bad for the community. Let's see what they do with it.
Yeah, let's see. A lot of people are anti-WOTC now controlling it because they are the maker and IP holder and will make decisions like most people say due to secondary market conditions, more expensive cards. I mean, they have to look at it, obviously, because how do they know what chase card to put in a set to get people to buy? Come on.
Well,
but,
the Fireside chat, they admitted that they look at the secondary market. It was an accidental admission when when Cynthia Williams addressed, there are many factors that cause cards to go up or down in value. Well, if they weren't paying attention to the secondary market, how would they know that?
Right.
So
exactly.
They've always been paying attention to the secondary market. She was just too dumb not to not admit it publicly. Right.
So,
I've been on fire since the Fireside chat. You guys know this. I stopped buying. I cut my wallet down to minimal. And and I'm still seeing problems with the management over at WOTC. This is one of them.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like everyone's thinking that the One Ring's going to get the ban. I've repeated myself several times on this. Nope. They still are printing sets and will be for the next couple years here for Lord of the Rings. So as soon as that license is up, I guarantee they'll probably finally ban it in multiple formats. So I don't think it's going to be touched. Really? I think it's going to be before the license is up.
No, I don't know why you put those words in my mouth. I think it'll be after, because
that's what I just said. After I said the same thing about. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, you said as soon as the license is up, and I was like,
as soon as the license is up.
No, after, right? Because they're going to continue to print the product until the license is up, right?
Yeah,
and then they have the right to sell whatever they have in the warehouses after that point, which means they're probably going to plus up another print run before they run out of their license to be able to print. Blah 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 blah. I think it'll be after. Just like they did here with, they waited till they pushed it out in the Festival in the Box. People forget, or didn't know that they had the Costco March of Machines Commander boxes special thing that had Commander Masters in those as well. It's like they were pushing out the product to get to a sufficient inventory. Look at their quarterly reports. One of the things that's been high on their list since the Fireside chat was reducing inventory. Reducing what they have stuck in warehouses. That's been a big push. So don't kid yourself. A lot of people aren't really paying much attention to that. It's why we saw stuff, in garbage dumps, whoops. And I think that people don't pay attention to that fact. And I agree with you. I'll be shocked if they do. Could they?
I'll be shocked.
Potentially ban it prior to that? Yes. I don't see it happening. Maybe one format, because they do that occasionally where they'll ban something in one format that's less financially driven, and then eventually with the big money maker, they'll ban it, like Modern, to where
I could see it being like the first thing that they might do is maybe single it down for Vintage, where it doesn't affect them at all. Some older format. They're going to leave it alone in Modern for a while, unfortunately. And they're not going to get rid of it from Commander. So, like, what other formats out there that it wouldn't touch? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, would they ban it? Yeah.
A lot of this doesn't make sense. Like if you look at the bannings, the percentages of decks that all these cards were in, Dockside with 16%. You had Mana Crypt in 11%. You had Jewel Lotus in 6% of decks. And surprisingly, the One Ring, because my channel partner likes looking at this, and we're only basing this off the numbers that are on EDH Rec, which is probably the best source you can go to. Is it authoritative? No, but it's a pretty reasonable gauge. But it was only in like 7% of decks. He's like, I don't get that at all. You should put it in every Commander deck. And I'm like, okay. But if the numbers that he gathered are correct, that the point is with all of these cards that we're talking about, they have very little impact. They're not driving massive amounts of sales. They're not problematic for the wide mass of Commander players. So I'm very curious, like, how they came to that conclusion that these cards were problematic to begin with. Problematic to whom? And I don't think that the One Ring is problematic in Commander either. I think it's more problematic in Modern. So again, I think that they look at all this stuff, or at least there are people that are looking at this. I don't know what kind of clown show they got going on over at Wizards. If they're not looking at these things, they should be ashamed for being, a $1 billion company plus and not taking into account things that people that do this for free take into account and look at some of the sources. So I don't know.
Yeah. Although thematically also, if they restrict it, which I doubt they're going to do, because they want you buying multiples of these cards. So, you need to keep cracking Lord of the Rings to get your play set. But, I could see them restrict it, and it would be more thematic if you only have one ring in your deck,
Is there a restricted list in Modern?
TCGDude, I don't know.
I don't think restricted, just a ban list.
Right.
Yeah.
Restricted's a thing in
Vintage-
Vintage and Legacy, right?
Vintage Legacy, yeah.
You
So
know-
Maybe what's that other weird format? 1993, 1994.
oh gosh.
I don't know. If I was richer and I had a bunch of markers, the marking thing seems fun. But
Right.
whatever.
Pre-modern,
Yeah.
pre-modern's a format I've been actually curious about and wanting to get into.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with that.
Pre-modern, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I believe it's like revised up to 7th edition, something like that. Because as we know, 8th edition was the introduction of the modern frames and era. So prior to that is what your card pool is. So you got a lot of classics in there, a lot of like Invasion era and Tempest and Visions, a lot of sets that folks, I guess, of the older Magic crowd are familiar with and passionate about.
what are you trying to say?
I'm just saying that pre-modern is something that intrigues me
I'm pre-modern.
in general.
Yeah.
But it's been a hot minute since I put on the tinfoil hat.
Oh boy. Do I
and-
don't even know if I still have that clip in here. I should. Holy crap.
Okay,
So,
I got a
oh, man.
What's happening here? Where's your idea?
I'm looking for it, damn it.
Hold on, I want to give DJ just a hot second because he loves his videos.
No,
Now, I'll be
right.
fair. I did mention this
Yeah.
somewhere else. I don't remember where I said this, but it's been a threat and a gloom growing in my mind.
Oh,
All right, I'm just gonna go with it because you're taking too long.
go ahead.
But for a long time, I've said, and I think you saw this in the chat. Where was I at when I said this? That they're going to come to the same conclusion ultimately, and I think it'll be palatable for the public because it's something that we're familiar with, and that is breaking down Commander into multiple formats.
Right.
The most logical one first is, of course, what? To splinter off.
CEDH, of course.
There you go. And what's the next one? Because there's even a new one that I just heard of in this whole kerfuffle with the bands.
No ban.
No,
Commander.
TEDH.
Oh, T. I never heard of this.
Tournament EDH.
Wasn't that CED? Okay.
No, there's CEDH and TEDH, and we already have it just in different names. What's the one where you have a spell as your commander?
And vitamin D EDH.
Right?
Yeah.
ABCD EDH.
Yeah.
That was a good one, Bob.
But
You could talk to this one.
Huh?
so
Yeah.
I think that will be a solution that is far better for them than trying to break it up into 4 types of decks, right? I think that's going to leave a lot of people bitter and still confused. And how do you rank it? And I think that they're, if they even try to develop the application, which will cost them a bunch, they're going to have to get, somebody that's pretty smart. I'm assuming they would have to use AI to even begin to try to construct that and say, okay, well, what card or what combination of cards justify a certain power level? Because what's the most powerful card you can think of in all of Magic?
Black Lotus.
Yeah.
Not really.
Ancestral Recall.
Not really. And that's the point, right? There is no
Soul
single
Ring.
most powerful card. But Soul Ring's pretty powerful, and it's ubiquitous. It's in like 84 or 86% of decks. But
yeah, which is amazing. It's not in all.
Here's my point: is that having any one counterspell, and
classic
not
Cane Shaker.
but the point is having any one or even two or four of these most powerful cards in all of Magic in a 100-card deck. Yeah, there you go. There's the most powerful card. Ban Islands. But you know, that won't make a deck. If the rest of it's full of jank, then it's not really all that powerful, right? Any one or combination of these cards, until you play the deck dozens, if not hundreds of times against multiple varieties of decks, is it necessarily a specific power level, right? Like if you play an Enchantress deck and nobody has enchantment removal, it becomes insanely, stupidly powerful. Same thing with Cascade, unless you put out like that one white mana enchantment that says you can only cast one spell per turn. I don't remember what it is from, it's an older set. At any rate, there are counters to every deck out there, right? And
essentially it's a rock, paper, scissors system.
Right. So how do you necessarily say one deck is
Justin, been a minute.
You know, if you have what's the artifact thing where you just play more artifacts and they have affinity, right? So an affinity artifact deck. Well, if you play in something that's heavy artifact removal with, you know, Vandal Blast and freaking Dockside Extortionist and all this, your affinity deck's probably not going to fare very well. So again,
I'm going to go ahead and cast Hercule's Recall for 2 and return all artifacts to owner's hand. No board.
And again, you know, it's going to be super problematic for them to put power levels on decks, even if you say you have this card in it. If you have Rhystic Study in a deck, even if it's just a complete garbage deck otherwise, that it's automatically a 4. Like it's going to be problematic, and it's going to cause them a lot of headaches because it will just be a never-ending.
That's
it'll be a never-ending
I was
source.
Trying to convey the last few days as well, is that logically it doesn't make sense to say, oh well, your deck is a 2 without the Ancient Tomb, but with the Ancient Tomb it's an automatic 4. You know, it's like, what the heck? That doesn't equate.
I agree. And I think by announcing this, they've just stirred the hornet's nest. Because people want that. But I think what's a far more palatable solution to that, I mean, that's the whole reason we have formats, to be honest. That's how formats got started, is people were bitching way back in the day, if you were around back then, that, well, I wasn't around to get beta, so I don't have access to Ancient Recall and Black Lotus and Force Field and all these other busted ass spells. So they made, type 1.5 and then type 2 and 2.5 and it
and then we have exactly. It's going to be interesting. They really the community as a whole, or not as a whole, but it's kind of torn, is we'll just make CEDH its own thing. It's like, okay, so what, that's going to be tier 4 or or no, that's going to be tier 5 supposedly. So I don't know, man. It's going to be more confusing. I'm already confused with the power level that we have now of 1 through 10. I don't know. I think one deck's an 8. People are telling me it's a 6, or I come in with the power deck and I'm thinking it's a 7 because it's just a barely upgraded precon. I don't know. Everything's a 7. Everything's a 4.
I mean,
thank you, Jake.
The problem with the current system is the fact that it's subjective, right? It's subjective to the owner of the deck. And then you have liars, right? But the problem is not with liars, because liars, they'll play. You get to play once, and then everybody's like, "Get out of here!" It's like they suddenly don't have a seat at the table, and that's what Rule Zero is there for, and that should be more enforced. That should be more supported. The Rule
You
Zero.
don't bring a Thassa's Oracle deck to where people are playing precons. Like, come on, dude. It's just like, pub stompers want to be able to pub stomp. I get it, but come on, dude.
The Thassa's Oracle, let's say they have no way to get their deck down to no cards, right? So then, there you go. Well, it's Thassa's Oracle, but Jesus Christ, it's going to take 5.5 hours to get there. It's like, if they don't have a way to just pitch their entire deck. And it's like that. The same thing with Hull Breacher. Hull Breacher without wheels is not a problematic card in any sense. It's a great card minus wheels. Wheels breaks it, right? But if you put wheels in a deck without Hull Breacher or anything like it, or if you put Hull Breacher without wheels, it significantly adjusts power levels. So again, I think they're just inviting trouble with and that's what this conversation was mainly about, their idea of power, the rankings of the decks. And I think that addresses a core problem, which I think would be much better solved by expanding the number of commander formats.
So,
Jake Raleigh. Jake Raleigh, first time talking with you. What do you do on Thursdays, bro? We're always looking for new peeps to come in and chat with us on MTG Roundtable. So if you got a Thursday open, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and just let us know how much time you got and come join the chat, bro. We like talking with peeps of all shapes and sizes.
I'm sure you got some great input that we would love to hear.
It'd be fun. What's your take on pointed system a la
Canadian Highlander?
It's interesting. But I mean, you're asking to do more math. I get it. It kind of evens out, but it's like math. I have still yet to try the format, but I really want to. And also the one where the Planeswalker is your commander. You had to have a Planeswalker and a spell. That one, is that it? Or what format was that?
Oh, God damn.
Oathbreaker.
Oathbreaker.
Oathbreaker. Yeah, I wanted to try that. Yeah.
Canadian Highlander, I think, runs into the same problem that you run into with trying to rank decks based on specific cards, right? So you could use all the points and still have the jankiest deck, right?
Right.
And I don't think it necessarily balances out because those that are just like at any type of format in this game, the person that's a better deck builder will win. Like, when I went, I'll never forget going to the Urza Saga release way back. And I was playing against this kid, couldn't have been more than like 9-10 years old. And he kicked my butt. Never wanted to beat up a kid so bad in my life.
Yeah.
he was not very friendly about it. And he just whooped the crap out of me. And it was with a bunch of cards that I thought innocuous, right? And it was not a meta, but he just built a better deck. And I've seen that time and time again. If Magic's not a humbling game to you, well, then you're doing it wrong. Because there are always people that, they put that together and they disassembled me like a toy. And I think that's the same thing with Canadian Highlander. And you'll have solved metas, right, for the points. And I think that it's fine for those that want to be all mathy and build decks based around that rule set, but I think it will have trouble spreading out to a wider audience because people want to put less thought, right? They just want to put less thought into things. That's why they want to have an app to tell them how powerful their deck is. Whereas that's what I think that the formats really help kind of simplify that and sort of cut off these power levels. Like imagine a commander format with no reserve list.
Yeah.
Right. A commander format with no card that had an original printing before 2011. There can be, call them whatever format you want, but there are ways, the beginner format that only has the pre-cons that have been released in the current standard cycle. You know, so there could be a whole variety of formats that could reduce having to do math, reduce having to look at ban lists, reduce having to do point list systems, and I think it would just, people want a more consumable product, and Commander is just this beast.
It's a little overwhelming, honestly. So as much as
But,
I can respect Commander and I appreciate folks keeping Magic alive, a la Commander, but I'm one of those people that actually am a stickler and say, if you're going to introduce somebody to Magic, have them play 1v1 60 card format. Doesn't matter what format, but
100% disagree.
It's okay. You can disagree, and that's fine. But I think that introducing the multiplayer and the politics to the already complicated game of Magic is a little bit too much for a first timer.
I agree.
Or, you know, so once they understand the fundamentals of that, then advancing them on, kind of like going from a white belt to a brown belt, you know what I'm saying, or whatever that order is in your dojo. I really think that would be the better approach. But then again, you can't tell people what formats to play. So, well, if they're going to get introduced to Magic with Commander, having the live stream mention some, I don't know if it was a question or something Blake had already prepared, but the idea of having a printout in every pre-con, similar to when you get a pre-release and it shows you the mana curve and how many of what spells you should have ideally. And then Aaron had the audacity to be like, yeah, we don't know if we want to use paper for that. And I'm like, bro, you better print it on the back of the box then.
Right.
You
know?
So
you said the best you'll get is a QR code. Right.
I'll say that Commander Raids is a far superior way to introduce somebody to Magic. You play with your hands up and you play on the same team. And I'll say one of the reasons we went into it with that idea is that introducing somebody to Magic by doing the 60 card deck 1v1, there are basically only a couple of ways that people get introduced to Magic. One of them is you typically find somebody else that knows how to play Magic. So they will either beat the crap out of you or they will let you win, neither of which is a very satisfying outcome from your introduction to Magic.
Right.
Beyond that, I would even say that a better product, well, not than Commander Raids, but a better product than just 60 card decks, competitive style that way, is honestly Jumpstart. I think is a fantastic beginner product.
Hello, Obi-Wan.
But certainly I think Commander Raids is superior. It's a zero salt format. You can help them make decisions by looking at their hand as they're playing and explaining interactions. Now, there's no real politics in Commander Raids. So that is a difference once you actually graduate to playing actual Commander.
Right.
But it's unfortunately not a well-known format. But I think it is a superior way to learn to play.
Yeah,
it's trying to make fetch happen.
Well, no, goodness. I mean, they're not making any money off of promoting this new format. And, you know, I was there when he was like, dude, we got to do a game based off of Boss Monster or whatever. What do they call it at the thing, Bob?
It's Boss Monster.
Yeah, Boss Monster. Yeah, so it was a more in-depth Boss Monster, and it was fun. I got to play it once. I got to make a deck.
I tried to push it to Aaron, and he's just jackknob.
Yeah,
I tried to push it to Rosewater. I pushed it to everybody I could when I was there.
Yeah,
and we didn't even have Commander Raids at that point. We went there essentially to, you know, like, oh boy, let's learn Boss Monster. But it had so many holes where like, oh, this is unplayable garbage.
Some of it. Yeah,
and so we went away from there going, well, let's make it not garbage, and we put a lot into it, and we even had Gavin Dugan, who helped create Commander, chip in some information on it and made some changes to it. And it's been a community-driven project. I hope at some point it catches fire and takes off. I think people who have played it loved it. And use it for what it is. Is it going to scratch that itch for you, competitive, head-to-head? I need to grind somebody. I need to curb stomp somebody. No, it's not that kind of game.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what PB is.
Cool.
I've been tripping on this, Obi-Wan. I'm like, PB, the aggressor, is that aggressor have won?
What?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know.
Peanut butter.
Yeah, it's aggressive.
So yeah,
Peanut butter.
actually, I think the idea of commander raids is really cool because it's a PVE Magic experience instead of a PvP. And so I mentioned earlier that I'm a multiplayer gamer, right? You know, first-person shooters, and I also do MMOs like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy, right? And I like to PvP on those as well as do dungeons and raids and collaborate with people. You know, it's the thrill of, okay, it's Friday night, 6 o'clock. I've got my pizza. There's 25 of us here at the raid. Everybody get in Discord, and we're all gonna kick it for the next 3 hours. You know, that similar vibe and experience can be had in a commander raid setting where you have, you know, 1 to 2, 3, 4 other players sitting at a table, and you're all pitted against this, you know, monster, you know, whatever you title it, whatever boss, you know, and work together with the magic cards.
It's similar, but it's not, because it's not a player that's the arch enemy. It's basically an NPC, and Bob can explain it better. But basically, it's like you're in a dungeon and you're all there fighting this big ass monster. You know, it's just, Bob can explain it way better, but
and it's not for everybody, Justin. Like, Nikachu would never play it. He's just he has to have that competitive. I need to go against the absolute best.
Right.
And let me tell you, commander raids can be pretty oppressive. It's controlled by dice.
Oh yeah.
So it can be a wide variety of experiences. Yeah, it's very RNG heavy. So, and there are we have different levels. Like, there are different rule sets depending on what challenge level you want to play. Hard has been hard enough that we didn't need to develop out brutal mode even more. And we have, you know, thoughts to make it even more difficult if you really want a serious challenge like you see EDH players. But we haven't gotten there with it yet because it hasn't been needed. However, it's still not a format for everybody.
Right.
How do you limit one person from driving the table? My personal nitpick with co-op games. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You're talking about in commander raids?
The proverbial tank. The proverbial tank. You know, okay, guys, I'm going to lead the charge here. Now you heal me. And, you know, he kind of dictates and delegates instead of letting everybody have their own option. That's what I'm assuming.
How do you do that? Rule 0?
Yeah, right.
Ew, you did not just say rule 0 in a PvE. Ew.
Sure did. Absolutely. Look, there are cards that you don't even think of. Like, one of the most busted cards in Magic for commander raids, and everybody hates that I play it. It's called Collective Voyage. And what that card can do is, by like turn 2, all 4 of us can have like 13 lands in play.
Busted.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty busted. And people hate that. They're like, you just trivialize the game. So it's a fun format that, you know, the try-hard Timmy, you say, hey, this is a fun format. If you want to play that, play it somewhere else.
Jake,
you don't prevent it.
I was just about to say you don't. Like, in a group setting, I think there's just a natural leader at every, you know, setting, right? There's somebody who's going to be a little bit louder or a little bit smarter or a little bit, you know, take chargey, even if they're not intentionally doing it, right? They just kind of naturally lead the group. And I think that trying to impede on that process would be more trouble than it's worth, unless they're being toxic about it, right? In which case, you may just play the one game out and then, you know, pull the person aside afterwards and be like, hey, you know, we kind of had a salty experience there. Maybe we should like run it a little different next time. You know, just a thought.
And that's what it's intended to do. Is it a perfect format? No, but there are no perfect formats out there. Like, it's not meant to be a tournament format. It's just another option, right? A less salty. Let me tell you, I've heard more feedback about, man, I finally was able to get my girlfriend or my wife or my kid into Magic, right?
Yeah.
And instead of that person that is toxic to play with because they're always just better than everybody else at the table, you're glad to have them on your team. You're happy to have them in there. right? And they can share, and they end up sharing a lot of their insights into the game and help people become better power gamers themselves. You're like, wow, okay, now I see why you do that. So I've learned a tremendous amount about Magic by playing with other really good people in Commander raids. You know, things that I wouldn't have seen, the way I wouldn't have thought about playing the game. And understand, it is a very different way to play than competitive. But it also gives a lot of your cards that, you know, you want to play a home that just don't have a home in other formats. Like, what is it? You know, a lot of the group hug type stuff is far better. And Commander raids, and you know, the Howling Minds, everybody's like, yeah, Howling Mind, and the Font of Mythos, you know, all these things that benefit other people. And what's the Chronicles one that gives all creatures haste, the 1 green
man,
Concordant Crossroads.
Crossroads, yeah.
You know, everybody is like, oh yeah, awesome that you play. So it's one of those things that makes you look at Magic very differently, and it helps you start thinking about your own collection differently as well. It also, it's the lens that I look at all new sets now, like, oh wow, that would be great in Commander raids. So it's kind of fun that I'm like, oh, that would be good in Commander, but that'd also be good in Commander raids.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a fun way to get more mileage out of the cards that you already own. Anyways, I didn't come on here to talk about it that way, but I think that these kind of formats and making the game sort of expanded by different formats is something that they could absolutely do at WOTC that's far less toxic. Nobody's going to bitch that, oh man, they just made another format. If you don't like the formats, you don't play them.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine a world in where Magic has the introductory product or format of Commander raids or whatever you call it at that point, right? Instead of Standard, instead of Commander, because it's a less intimidating experience, we'll say, right? Assuming that they automate it with an app like we mentioned earlier, as far as like card rankings. And I think actually, not trying to shill too hard for y'all, but don't you boys at Cardboard Odysseys already have a Commander raids app you can download?
We do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't have a link here. This was an ad hoc join here, but and I don't want it to become a shill session for Commander raids. Either you like, check it out if you want to, don't if you don't want to. We have a Discord for it. But just know that it exists. And my point with that was, especially amongst the three of us here having this conversation, we all know what it is. And so that's what I really meant to highlight, is that I would love to see WOTC, you know, take it and have professional game designers do something more with it. Call it something entirely different. Have it be a functionally different kind of thing with its own. I'd love to see them print products for something like that, right? That's, oh, hey, we have this PvE format. Oh, and here are subsequent products you can buy that are specific for that format, right? Cards that are specific for that format, right? I think that would be amazing. And it doesn't have to be ours. I would love to see them create a wide variety. Why can't they make more formats? You know, it doesn't cost them much to do that. And I think it could solve many problems. The reason people don't like, if the only format we had allowed every card in Magic, well, Magic would have been dead a long time ago. You know, because the people that got in first, there is, you know, the wheel of time here, and the new players can't go back and buy beta when it was $3 a pack. You know, they can't get the Power 9 at those prices. Or
Jake makes a good point here.
Yeah, were you going to read that off, DJ?
This used to be the nature of fan-made formats. It seems now all new formats require you to build a different deck. I want more formats that change the structure of the game without changing the deck. Interesting.
So my response, and this is in my opinion, I don't think you can have one without the other. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
because you build different.
Yeah, right.
It's like you wouldn't have the same deck for Canadian Highlander as you would your Commander deck necessarily.
And same thing goes for Commander raids. Like, we tried to create it.
There's always Kingdom,
so that you have to make as few changes as possible to your decks. As a matter of fact, part of what we designed it in kept in mind is that you can use commander raids as a much better way to goldfish your commander decks rather than just laying out, okay, here's turn 1, here's turn 2, here's turn 3. You can actually interactively have an opponent solo in goldfish mode. But I agree with what you two are saying about you kind of have to rebuild your decks for different formats, but I think that's also part of the fun of the game. Brewing is pretty fun. I don't want to be handed decks. I would rather. I honestly don't even really like precons. I hate metas. I wish the internet. I think the internet it ruined Magic for me with people, building meta decks. I that's why I prefer if I'm playing head to head, it's some form of sealed, so that you have to do it on the fly at a minimum.
Right. I do like
I
the
don't want to be
idea
a
that
pilot.
Jake presents here of having a one deck fits all kind of, deck, right? You can bring it to any table and play for any format. Yeah, I'm assuming that that's kind of what he's leaning toward with that statement there. And I think that would also make the game more accessible for folks, because it's already a little bit much when you have to, okay, get your precon. If you're new to the game and you want to play Commander, get your precon. Okay, well, now it's not fast enough. You need to upgrade the mana base. Okay, well, the mana base is good, but now you need your big splashy win cons. Okay, and so by that point, you're possibly hundreds of dollars in. And then imagine going to a Friday Night Magic or another Commander night the following week to sit with new players to be told, hey, yeah, man, your deck's not cool at this table. You know what I'm saying? Well, and you're like, bro, this has been a journey.
I honestly think what you'd run into is more the opposite, that, you step away for a couple of years, you come back to the table, and you're just getting steamrolled because your deck just doesn't keep up with the new cards printed. Doesn't keep up with the new meta.
Span of time, yeah, absolutely.
And
I was meaning like a week later or two, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
a couple of years, definitely. I've actually got some Commander decks here that I sleeved up during the old pandemic. And if I busted those out on DJ's Sunday night EDH streams, I'd probably get stomped.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just the nature of a game that is not static. Right? They make new cards, they make new mechanics. It's constantly evolving. So
yeah,
I think that the multiple formats helps address some of that, but it'll never be static. You can't just bring one deck to every different format, because you end up ultimately having an outmoded deck. So it's just the nature of an evolving game. Once they stop printing Magic and stop making new cards, then you can have those formats that are locked in time. Then I think you'll have what you wish there. You can look at all these other dead games where they don't print any new cards.
Yeah, deck is all basic lands. That's right. Yeah.
So I think that's sort of the nature of the game, unfortunately.
Hey, shout out to Pre-Modern. Oh, TCGDude would love to hear that.
I mean, I could probably make some Pre-Modern decks that are pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
3,000. You start getting down in the 1993, 94. I get a little thin at that point. But again, I think that formats are a better way to control it rather than deck power rankings, because that would also have to be an evolving target, right? You can't ever remain static. Like, for example, Jace would have been an automatic 4, or what's the Tarmogoyf, right? Or Liliana
back in the day.
These are, or an Eldrazi, automatic 4. And nowadays an Eldrazi deck is just too slow. Jace, meh, because there's a lot of Planeswalker removal now. Tarmogoyf,
right?
Get out of here. Like that, I've never seen Tarmogoyf even in a Commander deck. So again,
except for the new Precon, and even as a token.
Okay. I'm not.
Yeah,
familiar,
that was the MH3 Commander decks had the Tarmogoyf, or the Goyf deck that wasn't very Goyfy. So
that sounds great. But
yeah,
my point is just like, what who was it that said that? Said they wanted just one deck.
That was
Jake.
Jake Rowley, yeah.
Is just like the decks become outmoded, that these power rankings are also going to be outmoded. So they're going to have trouble that making these rankings. They're going to have constantly shifting rankings, right? So one more thing you're going to have to keep track of, because power levels are all relative. Just looking at you, Shivan Dragon,
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Like Obi-Wan's saying, the power creep's so blatant. So low mana cost card with power capacity is killing the game. Plus the tutoring card, and the game is over before 4 turns.
Yeah. I'm not against that. I've stated that there's only 2 ways that they can keep pushing sets, and that's with reprints and power creep. Those are the things that are, that's the candy. That's the and if you don't think so, go look at Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt. People were like, oh, this underpowered garbage.
Right. And
people don't want underpowered sets.
Yeah, pretty much you have to have everything under the sun on like a 1 or 2 drop. And then people are like, ooh. But I mean, if they power down set, it doesn't sell. So like, it's going to be constant power creep, like constant.
Yeah, it'll be the next AFR. You know what I mean? Like, is the power down era was between Strixhaven, AFR, Crimson Vow, Midnight Hunt. People just this is garbage. We don't want this garbage, and so you have this dichotomy. You have this problem. The only way that I can see fixing that is like what they're doing with ban lists.
Yeah.
And then people hate that. So the only other way to control that would be formats that control that to an extent. And you can think of formats not just, going back like they've done, you can only have to a certain point in time. You could have just during these certain eras, more like the 1993-94, right? Where it not only limits the beginning, but the end of it as well.
Right.
So they have to become more creative. You can't keep printing new cards into an already 35,000 unique card pool without creating problems. The only thing that makes it exciting, like nobody wanted a different Jace the Mind Sculptor. You've already got Jace the Mind Sculptor. You don't need 14 different dark rituals, that are named something different. And I can't think of all the different negates.
Bob, I think I told you this before, Bob. Why all the different arts or variants and all that, why it sort of makes sense, is because of Commander. Because if you have you want a certain version for your elf deck, for example, right? So they came up with a super fancy elf. You're like, oh, sweet. That's now my face commander, or, I'm going to swap this out. And then, where's my demonic tutor that looks sick? Oh, yeah, I'm going to put that in my demon deck versus the regular version. So also, you have a different art for every commander deck that you have. You can kind of keep track of things a little bit better. That's the whole reason, the different variants and arts and stuff like that. But I mean, if they like what Dulbrand said, like before when it did a reprint, it would be either white border or it would be at least a different art, and okay. But if they're reprinting just the old art constantly, or it seems kind of it's not that exciting.
The artwork alone, different art, especially at the expense. It's like saying, "Ooh, I've got 40 basic lands in my deck, but look at these basic lands. That's going to cause me to go out and spend another $500. It's not.
Right.
You don't need.
Well, some people are that bling. They want to bling their stuff out. Yeah, all right. There's the option.
But that's not going to be enough, right? That has to be just a side benefit of buying a set. But
I mean, you have people, commander players out there that will only play cards that have a hat on it. I mean, so if you made, like, for example, it's a joke with me that I'm bummed that the Terror Peaks dragon in Outlaw Junction didn't have a cowboy hat. the hell, man?
No,
But I mean, yeah, what the hell? But like, there's command. You see what I'm saying? I don't justify it. Like, you don't need 20 different variants in a single set of a card. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Dude.
in
Like,
a single set, it's a lot. It's really overwhelming. It thins out, the
you have like
importance of other
20
cards.
subsets in the same set, and then you're only going to get the other 20 in collectors, which will be worth more supposedly.
Okay.
Well-
So I'm picking up what y'all are putting down, but if I may here, I just was able to fix my mic so I can actually talk.
Yay!
Now. I had a light bulb moment in the last 5 minutes that a comparison can be made. Most of us here have feet, right?
Yeah.
And we like to wear shoes that protect our feet. Well, guess what? Everybody has different shoe standards. Some people wear god-awful Crocs and don't care about the public.
Yeah.
Other people wear real shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's a personalization thing. It's and Magic has been such a long-lasting game, 30 plus years now, that people not only have the privilege of different variants, they like to personalize their deck. They like to make it individualistic and I have this. You may have that Underground Sea from beta like I do, but mine's signed. You know what I'm saying? That flex does feel really good.
I don't think was it you or no? I think it was Ace said that he has an all classic border set. That's his EDH deck, is that he can only use old school border cards, period. So they got some more options coming up with them doing all the retro border stuff. So hey.
I've been one of the earliest advocates for the retro frame in the new era, as far as I'm familiar with in these circles here. I've got a Naya old school commander deck with Johan at the helm. Now, Johan is a totally trash ass legendary from Legends that essentially gives your creatures vigilance as long as he's not attacking. So he gets to be the king at the back of the battlefield. I can swap it out with a Palladium Ores or a Riff if I really want to make the deck a little bit more interesting. But I remember before Time Spiral actually came out, and I discovered Commander, aka EDH. I was like, okay, well, it's named EDH for Elder Dragon Highlanders. Why not make an Elder Dragon deck? And then it occurred to me that my dragon is in this old frame and I have all these modern era cards, and it just aesthetically was not pleasing. And so I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to take this a step further. I'm going to make it a completely old frame commander deck. And that started the journey, man. And then, of course, I just absolutely got the bit with the Timmy. And they sold Time Spiral Remastered. And I was suckered in. And now I'm in debt. I'm just kidding. But seriously, though, the whole point of this tangent is personalization of Magic. And that the number of variants is a positive for that, but I don't know if it's a net positive for the game.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. And the whole time you've been talking, I've been thinking let's take an example of a Mustang, right? And let's say that your version that really just sings to you is pink. You got snap by any of that pink Mustang, and boy, it's going to sell immediately to those people who wanted that pink Mustang. But is it going to push the Mustang in large enough numbers if all Mustangs were pink? And the answer is no, especially if people already have a Mustang, right? And that's just like with these different frames. Will it push the people that oh my God, even though I have 3 Mustangs, I got to get that pink one. And that will happen.
Well,
it's the same thing with these old borders, right?
The old borders. And then they're what was it? Seagal saying about the secret layers are not sold out. Still not sold out. Only particular ones, because those are the only ones that actually had any form of value in it. I mean, like the Chucky set. Chucky is a uncommon demon. Okay. The work and effort you put into the art's amazing, but there's like hardly any value here. Value as in even value of throwing it in your deck because it looks cool. Like maybe, but I don't feel that it justifies you taking $40 to $50 plus whatever fees and crap of my money for that. I'm just not. I don't feel it, you know. But if you throw in some value in there, cool. You know, like the no brainers or like the Transformer set was kind of a no brainer because I didn't have either one. And the fact there was a Transformer didn't really matter to me, but I was like, oh, I can get these on the cheap. Sweet.
Blightsteel Colossus. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you. And that's what I was saying before is that what pushes sets are reprints of expensive cards.
Yep.
And power crept cards. Right.
Yeah.
That's what pushes sets. That's what sells them. Like if you look at Lord of the Rings without the One Ring and Bowmasters, it's a very meh set. So two cards, neither one are reprints, but the power is what pushes that and makes it such a desired set.
Right. And then all the stuff they included at the, you know, the reskins basically in collectors for older cards. There was a lot of good cards in there.
Oh yeah.
But there's not enough of them, right? There's not enough to warrant dropping $500 on a collector box. There's not enough to warrant spending $250 on a draft box. And it's the same thing with these play boxes.
That's the other petition too. Is just like, dude, make if you're gonna include a box topper, stop with the uncommon common crap, please. Just, dude, they're doing it with special guests too. Like, I think we got a few commons and a few uncommons bumped up to mythic level because it's hard to pull these things. And there's only like 2 special guest cards that are even worth anything. You're like, you know, I was kind of underwhelmed with a lot of the choices for, I mean, some of it's thematic, so I was like, okay, cool. But with like Duskmorn, like there's only 2 or 3. I mean, Coco and what was the other one? The rest was like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, man. Opening
you wasted your one slot
box topper out of a draft or a play booster box is a super
or collectors.
Or collectors, you know what I'm saying? Like it's over $100.
Like how many freaking bells did you pull from freaking Lucy, bro? Like, come on, man. Like, it's not even that usable.
The problem that you're introducing though is that if all the box toppers were banger hits, then you're saturating the market with those bangers, and they lose their value.
Yeah, exactly.
So you run into these problems, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you have rares, at least rares. I mean, come on. You know, not even money
rares.
There are
many uncommons.
They are rares. Yeah,
there are many uncommons.
Well, Damnation,
of course, have.
Yeah.
Look,
Damnation's been bumped up to rare and mythic.
Demonic Tutor. You know, the fine. You know, there are. I think that honestly, the box toppers being reprints is hot garbage. They should be the pushed cards in the set and a special version of that one. Doing them as reprints, I just can't stand it. Like, they need to stop all the different places where they're doing reprints of good cards, even secret layers. Have it in a more consistent way, like the mystery boosters. They come out once every 2 years, and that's the only place you get these banger reprints. They need to keep the game collectible.
Yeah, no,
once you lose collectability in the game, I'm telling you, the game dies. Like, I don't care what you game piece army folks say. If you don't have the money coming in, the game dies. Plain and simple.
Right.
And it's not the game piece army that's buying the massive amounts of boxes. They don't have the money for it.
Right.
And you need to keep it a collectible game. Otherwise, nobody's dropping $500 on the next version of Monopoly, but you'll drop it on a box of Magic. And why? Because when you open a Monopoly box, there's no hit. There's nothing you can get. People buy $500 boxes of Magic because, well, they might get a valuable card in there. If you remove the value from the cards, which just happened, 3 of the biggest, then the game becomes not so special. And I could name tons of card games that are amazing to play that have no financial value. And there are no YouTube channels for it. Nobody's out there excited to open packs of the Lord of the Rings living card game or the Game of Thrones living card game. or Hero Realms or Star Realms, or the list can go on and on. Folks.
Sounds like you found your niche, bro.
What's that?
I'm just kidding.
But why? Yeah, but why? If it's all the same card,
Nobody's going to watch.
Yeah, no one's going to care.
Nobody
There's
cares.
no rarity.
There's no excitement there. And if the game piece army wins and every card has no real financial value, even if they drop down to like $10 to $20 a piece, nobody's going to care. The hype around Magic will die.
Yeah, I mean, if all they sold was precons, it would die real quick. But everyone would be able to get all their game pieces, right? It's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. Like, if everyone had a Mana Crypt, it wouldn't be worth anything.
Yeah, they need to preserve both. It needs to have both gameplay and it needs to be collectible. And hopefully this going to WOTC will help address some of that, because the rules committee only cared about gameplay.
Right. I mean, as they should, though,
I don't know. I think both have to be taken into account. I do not see this as a positive week in Magic, banning those 3 cards.
It's funny how we always say 3. It was 4, but like Nadu is just like a given. They're like, yeah, should have.
Yeah, that's one of those shut up. That's like talking about the far end of the bell curve.
Yeah.
Go away.
Bird is not the word, bro. The 40-minute gameplay of you playing your whole deck turn 3 or 4. Like, bro, come on. Like, it's not fun. You're taking like an hour to go through your deck to figure out what to play next, and all that. It's turtling, or what do they call it? Dirtling, I guess. Dirtling. Yeah. And I already feel bad when I'm trying to figure out a play and I'm taking time, and I'm like, I'm at the 10-minute mark. I don't
There's
either. I don't
actually
have the
another
option. I do. Yeah.
channel out there called Eternal Dirtles. They're a legacy podcast, MTG podcast. Yeah, y'all should go check them out. I dig the name.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah,
mean to
that's
interrupt.
awesome. Was it a few companies that can balance the scale between supply and demand when it comes to the value of a product, and Wizards isn't one of them. Fair.
They were for a very long time, until about the last 6 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just seems like either it's like to sell the set, it's power crap, and then basically by the second or third box, some of those cards aren't even that valid anymore. And we're gonna have a powered out set coming up pretty soon, and no, it's not just Foundations. I mean, they're putting some big cards in there, but it's not like Mana Crypt big. I mean, one of their biggest reprint equity is gone. I guess Mana Vault, they can push Mana Vault now.
But even
that's
that,
creeping up.
You're thinning it out, because eventually that saturates, right? You had
4
cards that you could spread it across before, because Mana Vault was always there. But I don't believe that it's redistributing all of the money that was just lost. I think people got it wrong.
No.
When they're saying, it just moved money from one card to another. That's not correct. Right. More money was lost that will never get put back into Magic.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing, Bob, is that I think with this Marvel set coming up, it's not going to just be Secret Lair, right? I mean, they were talking about a Lord of the Rings type set. Yeah. So in this set coming up, WotCs are going to be the big saviors. They're going to make the Electric Boogaloo 2 of Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt, 2.570 version, where maybe they put a 1 on it and give it an extra mana, and maybe it does more damage or something. I don't know. It's in the realm of possibilities. And with the conspiracy theories flying around and real theories / like this looks obvious, with them, pushing out the Secret Lair with the Commander Masters collectors and the Lucy collectors, I see all those parallels too. I'm like a little sus, okay, but I think in that set, probably like the Gauntlet, the Infinity Stone Gauntlet, or something's going to come from that. So a lot of people were saying that that's related, or it's going to kill this new set, but I think they'll have a replacement in that, where they have to push some form of power and make sure it's super awesome, for the like Avenger set or what. I don't know what they're doing.
I think you're also missing Final Fantasy. I think they're going to push both those sets. They're licensed IP.
Oh, yeah.
They got to get their money back for both of them. So I think that, yes, I agree.
I really hope they don't do it dirty with the tiny packs, dude. Stop it.
Yeah, are you talking about like
Assassin's Creed? Like, come on.
Yeah, that was
there was some value there, but it's just like, dude, that's cheese, man. Come on,
I don't think they
the
made
full
their money
thing.
back. I don't think they made their money back off the license.
No.
But you know, they're trying things. They're going to swing in. Nobody bats 1,000. I want to address a couple of comments here. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. Eventually, it'll get out of hand if they keep going down the route that they are. I'm not sure which route you're talking about. What you're talking about with the power levels, I agree. They have to do something more. The power levels clearly was a failed experiment from the community itself, which couldn't even figure it out. Captain Waffle's comment about the Lord of the Rings commander package coming to Costco. I have a few thoughts about that. Number one, what's going to be the price point? That'll determine a lot of
$54.
Okay, then I highly doubt that
they're not going to put in the stuff from the
Ring.
bundle. Stop it.
I think that would be a mistake if they. I'm not saying they won't. It would be a mistake if they did.
Big time.
I think. First of all, that puts an automatic paywall that only people that have Costco memberships can get that, take advantage of that, which I think would be a PR nightmare. I think that by doing yet one more thing to devalue an expensive card so quickly, you know, they got to stop taking these hits to the chin with, you know, I'm an M30 fan, but I think it was a mistake. I think
it's a double chocolate chunk one ring. We're Costco guys.
I think that you know, they have
one in your cereal box.
They got M30. They have everybody recognized after the fireside chat, or at least most people have, that they were overprinting and reprinting too quickly. And now this kerfuffle over the bannings with people just taking it on the chin out there causes that's a lot of mistakes in a very short period of time. M30 is mentioned in the same breath as Chronicles. So is this banning. They can't keep doing this. It's toxic to the community that's paying their paychecks. So I think if they put yet another big devaluation product out there, that would be problematic at a minimum. I already have. So I bought, just so you're aware, you know, full transparency, I have 2 or 3 sets of that myself already, and I have 6 more of the bundles that I haven't even opened. So I have I don't know how many One Rings, like 8 or 9. I don't care about the financial value of it, but I think it would be a mistake.
You only got 10 fingers, son. You don't need that many rings.
Dude, I'm freaking. I was going to say P Diddy, but that would be a bad thing to say right now. With all the bling, 50 Cent. No, wait, that's also a bad one. Snoop, maybe, with all my bling rings over here.
You know, I'm about to oil up with them. Let's go.
Got to get them rings on somehow. These fat fingers. Get some baby oil.
That's right. That's right. Nah,
So
it's funny. I only have one ring, and it's in my Trash Panda deck. It's because I can put it in and swing with it. I think it's hilarious.
I happen to have 2 that I got from bundles, and it was funny because so in my city we don't have sales tax, thank God. But I have a friend who lives in the same city but works out of town occasionally, and there was, when the Lord of the Rings set was out, I told him, bro, check that Kroger, they might have Lord of the Rings bundles there, and I kid you not, they had some, and I was like, dude, I will wire you the money later, please pick those up. And I'm so glad he did, for like, it was like $60 or something a pop. Yeah, bro, because now those are $100 a piece, not including whatever was inside aside from the One Ring.
They're more than that. The bundles, I'm trying to look at it and I don't know why it's fail saucing. At any rate, no, it's funny, we were on stream or pre-recording, Pat and I, and we were just checking the prices on that when they were still pre-order at Amazon, and they accidentally dropped the price down to $49.99.
Oh yeah, you lucked
so
out.
I bought a case of them right then and there. Man, I should have bought like 3 or 4 cases, but
right.
Yeah, so I think those are closer to like $150 to $200. The bundles.
Okay. Wow. That's kind of nuts. And not even including the collector edition bundle, right? Those are probably worth even more.
No, those are the ones I have.
Oh,
I got
okay.
it for $49.
And drop that down to 50. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
You lucky duck.
I had like a case of the regular ones, and then we saw that they had the commander ones for like the collector ones for $10 a box less. I'm like, well, that's stupid. I'm gonna cancel my regular bundles and buy the collector ones for $10 less a piece. So it was Amazon's had some issues,
yeah, no kidding.
With whoops, didn't mean to do that. Oh Jesus, no, they're $226 a piece. $220.
Oh, did I miss it? I'm looking.
Yeah, the gift bundles. Yeah.
Who put it for $7.90? What, dude?
But look at it. It's the spin down only. It's the
okay. I was like, what?
Yeah, I hate these.
List different components.
$7.90 and then 20. Like, and come on, dude.
That's what you're
for that gift bundle now. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I bought 6 of them at $49 a piece.
This is just the regular 8-set pack. What?
Here we go with me shilling yet once again, and I never shill.
Yeah, right.
This is why you should watch our show. Like we have these hot takes coming to you.
Oh, dude, $4. Let's go.
Yeah. It's not even $4. It's 220. Right? It's like what?
Oh no, this is for the gift bundle dice only, brand new.
I like
this guy's trying to turn 8.
All 3 of us look like vinyl records on the left here.
I know. I just noticed that feature today. Okay, so the gift bundle is $220, and it's almost $200 for the regular bundle. Holy crap!
Yeah, I got one regular bundle still because I already had those on order and already paid from Game Nerds, and I opened one of those, and I opened one of the collector bundles. So I have 5 of the collector bundles still unopened, and 1 of the regular bundles. So I don't know how many.
They're selling the whole set for 100. What a deal!
No, look, it says 95. Click on it. It's cheaper than that. But what I hate is it doesn't include the taxes, right? So it's actually one.
Oh yeah.
So the cheapest you can get it is 105.
100. Yeah, 105. Yeah.
Plus tax.
Yeah.
So basically, but all the other cards except for the One Ring are not worth anything.
No, not at all. It's just the One Ring.
Cards. And I love Frodo. I think he's a good card.
Yeah.
He is. But I don't know what they're going to have in there. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we got to see because they're going to include 2 promos, but it might not be
4 promos.
Oh, 4 promos. Okay,
that's
so everyone's thinking it's going to be from the bundles. Yeah,
that's why everybody's assuming, and I think that they're doing it on purpose. To an extent. Ooh, it got leaked. I'm air quoting over here.
Yeah.
That they're creating this hype, so people are already creating hype for this, and it could just be another marketing tactic, just to make people aware that hey, they're going to have it over at Costco. And now, no matter what happens with that bundle, who was it that asked me? Captain Waffles. No matter what happens with this, it's gotten publicity for Magic and for this specific SKU, right?
Right.
So no matter what happens, they win because it's already like rumor mill. Just drop a little bit and it spreads like wildfire. We're like lemmings. So
see, okay,
they're not going to ban it. Oh my god, the One Ring is not going to be banned. And Bob thinks it. Not talk for you, but you're thinking it's going to be way after they lose the license because they still got to move boxes. So I can agree with that,
after.
but yeah, because they still have product to move. But as soon as the print, like they get the stuff out the warehouse enough, it's going to be banned.
So
but we're not talking for like a year or 2. So
a whole year? Can you all hear me?
Probably longer.
Yeah.
Okay,
how long do they have the license for, Bob?
My icon going there. I imagine the license is going to be a couple of years, but guys,
till
I really till 2025. Okay, that's just around the corner.
Okay. So yeah, probably late 2025, maybe early 2026 when they're not printing it anymore at all. So
having this Lord of the Rings bundle at Costco, I think is actually a good thing. Like, I'm not gonna go into the layers of marketing and whatever, people can feel how they want to feel about things. But I think just the simple exposure of Magic in Costco is super beneficial to
the SKU
Magic in
says
general.
54.95 or whatever. So
I'm not even talking about the price. It could be good. It could be
I was
bad.
just gonna say, like, those decks are like between 60 and 80, like $100. Like,
so you're getting a steal.
They've gone down
as
a little
customer.
bit, but yeah, exactly. 54 plus, you get some packs and some promos, dude. Come on, it's a kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. So if they toss the One Ring on top of it, like it doesn't feel right. That feels
it's gonna sell out immediately.
Well, well, and then you cause a problem with like people bitching about. Look at how poorly that happened with Lorcana, right? When people can't get the product, if you think this is toxic, people really get up in arms about like, I couldn't even get it. It sold out before I could touch it. That kind of stuff really goes. Like they really need to avoid more bad press right now. I think that putting the One Ring in there would be super problematic for them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, guys, it's been super fun. Thanks, Bob, for coming on. Great combos as always. We memed. It was kind of a huge nothing burger as far as today's show on WeeklyMTG. There were some ideas presented out there. They kind of have a rough idea and gave us a rough idea on how they're going to do this 4-bucket system. I mean, can I just bring a bucket that says 1 and then play my level 4 deck? I mean, I don't know. It's not developed yet. So that's the end. The end thing is that, it's kind of thrown upon them. They're trying to figure it out as fast as they can. They're talking about it during the week, and then they'll figure something out. The one thing that I thought was interesting, though, was what Anger said earlier is, if now it's fully in WotC's hands, they could possibly branch out and do more like tournament things, but they got to figure out this rating system. I mean, I would hope that they would explain it at least in the companion app or something, since it's just going to be a QR code you'll be lucky to get.
I'm gonna
They're gonna be too much, man. We've had discussions on other podcasts about how complicated it may or may not be to run EDH in that setting.
Right.
And it's just too much. There's too many variables. The logistics. Too much for staffers to handle, for players to handle, and a lot of what ifs. You know what I'm saying?
The problem is you run the risk of, I don't want to say cheating per se, but you'll have too many people sandbagging, like 2 of you ganging up on, the tournament winner, so that your tournament winner
there
can
could
get
be
in there.
collusion.
Like there's way too much possibility of collusion, right? And I think that will, at all different levels, present way too many problems for WotC to handle. I think that it will forever remain non-sanctioned tournaments.
Okay.
Because of that very problem of collusion. There's no way to prevent that. You don't have to identify. I don't have to identify myself as, TCGDude's friend and DJ's friend. If the 3 of us are at the table and it looks like there's this one dude who's going to clear us all out, and even if TCGDude and I could sacrifice ourselves to make DJ the winner, the kingmaker at the table, there's no way for them to prevent that.
No, exactly.
Right. It's 1v1 is the only way I can see reasonably doing tournament play, because otherwise it leaves too much room for nefarious activities. So I don't think that you'll have that really as a potential for a tournament style format.
Right. And 1v1 Commander is pretty much Brawl on Arena, and that's a format that I've actually been a fan of, especially when I'm just logging on to grind my challenges, just cheese out challenges, casting colored spells. I'll just hit up the Brawl queue real quick, man. It's a lot of fun.
They could actually make a tournament version of Commander Raids. That is a possibility.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
Judges
We're gonna
monitoring.
end the
Oh, boy.
podcast. Get out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
You could. You'd have to have obviously restricted and banned lists for the players, and they could tweak the boss to be difficult enough that this pod beat it, and you just get a point system for every group that you're in that takes down the boss, and that the person with the most points at the end of the tournament wins. So there is a way to do that, but once you're doing the multiplayer format where you could have collusion, which that is the very nature of Commander Raids, is collusion. It's all collusion, that presents too much of a problem for them to ever make it a sanctioned tournament. And I think it was a mistake for them to announce any structure at all for what they're planning on doing with this 4 bucket. I'm going to take a dump in their bucket. Freaking process that's half baked, and that they announced it. Like, get at it. Like, what kind of mom and pop store shit is that? You don't announce something until you have very sound and solid ideas before going public with it. This is a mistake.
Yeah. I hear you, man. Well, we'll probably talk about it more in depth on Thursday. Please tune in. It will be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Thursday for MTG Roundtable. Sunday nights is usually when we get down super late for late night EDH, playing some Commander, all kinds of levels. We don't judge. And good times. Other than that, we'll probably see some random streams coming up. And stay tuned. We're trying to hit that 1420 so I can crack an Alliance pack and give away an EDH deck. It's pretty nice. Coming out of Bloomborough. So we're trying to hit those goals, get some friends over. So thank you guys for watching. Bob, thanks for coming on. TCGDude, thanks for showing up. And you guys all have an awesome day.
Adios.